Putting the West African nation back on a U.S. watch list. So what does that mean? Jillian Turner has the details. Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Bill and Dana. So the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is now going to reverse a Biden-era policy. He is going to put the country of Nigeria back on America's country of particular concern list. He is doing this citing the religious prosecution and persecution of Christians in Nigeria, as well as the wholesale slaughter of Christians based on their faith. Now, take a look at this. It follows President Trump's warning that he is going to send the military's guns ablazing, that's a quote, if Islamic terrorists keep killing Christians. He also is vowing to cut off U.S. aid.
What you have is a terrorist organization, particularly in the north in Nigeria, Boko Haram, that is literally burning churches, massacring people, torturing people, running them out of their homes to the tunes of tens, if not hundreds of thousands.
Asked aboard Air Force One whether he plans to put American boots on the ground in the country, the president did not say no. Listen.
Could be. I mean, a lot of things I envisage, a lot of things. They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Nigeria's regional neighbors also facing similar terror threats. The U.S. Embassy in Niger right now has tightened their security after a missionary was kidnapped. The State Department has also slapped level 4 travel warnings on both Niger and Mali, Nigeria's neighbors, ordering Americans to stay away. Policymakers and survivors of the Christian prosecution say the Trump administration is making the right move here.
Can you imagine? I've done it again. I've done it again. I started without the audio. Yes, I'm the king of muting myself. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's Frank Steven, your Nigerian prince, and we are going to be talking about a lot of interesting stuff today. So I want you to smash that like button. Destroy the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed. Ring that notification bell so that you see all of our subsequent videos. I'm happy to be here. We are 12 right now, and I want 12 of us to smash the like button. 12 of us, please smash that like button. Smash that like button. Okay, especially the ones in the live chat, like the reaction in the live chat. I want us to keep smashing that. Let the love flow in the air, like I always say. Let it flow. Okay, and what else do I want you to do? I always want you to be leaving comments in the live chat. I want to be seeing your comments in the live chat. I want to see all of you commenting, letting me know what's going on, what's good. You see, it's because you guys commented in the live chat that I realized that I was muted for the first few minutes of the live stream. And I corrected that, you see. So please keep the live chat interesting, engaging, and respectful. And we'll have a very wonderful live stream. I promise you that is what we intend to achieve today. Also, you can send in super chats. I mean, speaking of super chats, We already have one from James. Thank you so much for the super sticker, $10 super sticker. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I look forward to having more of this, okay? And you can also support by going to, it's here, buymeacoffee.com/NIG perspective. When you send a buy me a coffee, when you go to buy me a coffee, we'll get a notification, and that will keep the live stream fun and interesting. I get to read your live stream while your message on the buy me a coffee page can interrupt the live stream. So if you want to interrupt me, that's a good way to do it, and it is 100% halal. Alhamdulillah. Anything other than that is haram, okay? All right, guys, smash that like button. Smash it. All right. Okay, moving on. We will be talking about, what are we talking about today? 3 countries, okay? 3 countries, similar issues. We'll be talking about what is going on in Sudan. We'll be talking about what is going on in Mozambique. We'll be talking about what's going on in Nigeria. I also wanted to talk about what's going on in Congo, but I was like, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're already getting the super chats coming in. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nastaferus, for the super sticker. I really appreciate it. All right, so we'll be talking about Sudan. We'll be talking about Mozambique. We'll be talking about Nigeria. Now, what happened in Sudan is a recent fresh attack on how, you know what, when we get into that, we'll know the name of the place, okay? There's a fresh attack by the RSF in Mozambique, very deadly attack that has led to the loss of, civilian lives. Very catastrophic, and in fact, it's so catastrophic that it cannot be denied, right? And then in Mozambique, we have activities of ISIS, as the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, but this one is the Islamic State in Mozambique. That's ISM is what it is called. And then, of course, in Nigeria, we have Boko Haram. We have, we have 22 Islamic terror organizations in Nigeria. So we'll save the best for last, or let's call it the worst for last. I don't know if it's even the worst at this point, because when you consider what is happening in Sudan to what is happening in Nigeria, we are really actually starting with the best. So what is happening in Sudan? We'll start with this headline from the BBC. Okay? Start with this headline from the BBC. So this is the BBC headline. Sudanese RSF militia killed 460 people in El Fasher hospital, says WHO, or El Fasher. So that's the headline. It said the Rapid Support Forces militia reportedly killed hundreds of civilians at the main hospital in El Fasher days after it captured the Sudanese city. The head of the UN Health Agency says, this person said the UN Health Agency was appalled and deeply shocked by the reported killing of 460 people at the hospital. Earlier, the Sudan Doctors Network said that on Tuesday, RSF fighters had cold-bloodedly killed everyone they found inside the Saudi hospital, including patients, their companions, and everyone else present. It gave no casualty figures, but said medical facilities in the city have been transformed into human slaughterhouses. The Sudan Doctors Network has also accused the RSF of kidnapping 6 medics, including 4 doctors, a pharmacist, and a nurse, and reportedly demanding ransoms in excess of 150,000, that's 114 pounds, for their release. Tuesday's attack on Saudi hospital was also reported by the El Fasher Resistance Committee, a group of local activists, which said there was a horrifying silence afterward. The city had been the army's last stronghold in the Darfur region and was captured by the RSF on Sunday after an 18-month siege marked by starvation and heavy bombardment. Since the conflict erupted in April 2023, the RSF and allied Arab militia in Darfur have been accused of targeting people from non-Arab ethnic groups, allegations the RSF denies. With the fall of El Fasher, the UN activists and aid agencies have expressed fear over the fate of the estimated 250,000 people trapped in the city, many from non-Arab communities. A communication blackout has made it difficult to confirm what is happening. BBC Verify has analyzed new video posted to social media showing RSF fighters executing a number of unarmed people in the last few days. I mean, there are so many on social media. If we are going to watch them, this live stream will be, it will be pulled off. YouTube is going to take it off. Like if you go on Twitter, you're going to see a whole lot of like horrifying footages coming out from this conflict we are reporting right now. With the difficulties in getting reports from the ground, aid agencies say the full scale of the devastation in and around El Fasher is only beginning to emerge. Some people have managed to make the dangerous journey to the town of Tawila, about 60 kilometers west of El Fasher, and describe the extreme violence they faced. The shelling was so intense on Saturday that we had no choice but to flee El Fasher, one man told BBC Arabic Sudan's Lifeline program. Along the way, the RSF filmed us and we were beaten and insulted, and they stole what we had on the journey. A number of people were captured and ransoms were demanded for their release. Some of those who were taken were later executed. During the journey, many people were arrested and we suffered greatly from hunger and thirst. John Egeland, a former top UN humanitarian officer, told the BBC the situation was catastrophic. We have had massacres on all of those months of deprivation, starvation, no medical care, he said. I think this is the worst place on earth now. It is the biggest humanitarian emergency on earth, and it happens in the dark, really. There has been far too little attention to what's happening in Sudan. Dr. Tedros said prior to the Saudi hospital attack, the WHO has verified 185 attacks in healthcare facilities since the start of the war, resulting in 1,204 deaths. All attacks on healthcare must stop immediately and unconditionally. All patients, health personnel, health facilities must be protected under international humanitarian law. Ceasefire, he said. The capture of El Fasher effectively split the country, with the RSF now in control of most of Darfur and much of the neighboring Kordofan, and the army holding the capital, Khartoum, central and east region along the Red Sea. The two warring rivals have been allies, coming to power together in a coup in 2001, but fell out over an internationally backed plan to move towards civilian rule. So that's what is happening, and that is the news. And yes, you will notice that nobody is protesting in the West, calling for this to end. Nothing like that is happening because, of course, the Jews are not involved. It is okay when Muslims are killing each other. It is okay when Arabs are killing Africans, because that's what is happening in Sudan. Arab Muslims are killing African Muslims and other religious groups, because it's not just Muslims that are being killed. Okay, majority are Muslims. Of course, this is not majorly a religious motivated killing. This is ethnic motivated killing. The RSF, that is like an Arab fighting force in Sudan, is trying to get rid of the local population and trying to grab power in Sudan. It's also political. It's also a political struggle for the control of Sudan. That is what we are witnessing. Before I say a lot, let's look at another article from The Guardian. And this one is an opinion piece from The Guardian. But it's also based on the facts of the matter. Like, you can see the headline, say, blood spilled in Sudan can be seen from space. Nobody can feign ignorance about what's going on. Nasri Malik. The massacre carried out by the RSF in El Fasher, Darfur, with the support of East UAE sponsors, will only stop when the international community acts. It's unfolded in plain sight over 18 months. The city of El Fasher in the Darfur region of Sudan, besieged by the RSF, fell to the militia group last week. And what has followed is a catastrophe. Mass killings are underway. There are reports that in one maternity hospital alone, almost 500 people, patients and their families, were killed. The few that managed to escape tell of summary execution of civilians. The RSF has embarked on a killing spree of civilians so severe that images of blood saturating the ground have been picked by satellite. The speed and intensity of the killing in the immediate aftermath of the fall of El Fasher has already been compared by war monitors to the first 24 hours of the Rwanda genocide. Wow. This is the culmination of a campaign that has walled in the population of the city, hundreds of thousands of people, and reduced it to starvation. Those who attempt to flee risk death and rape, and those that remained were bombed and surviving surviving on nothing more than animal feed. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. El Fasher was the Sudanese military's last remaining stronghold in Darfur, and this past week marks a grave turning point in Sudan's war. Now 2.5 years long, the fight for control of the country between the Sudanese armed forces, that's SAF, and the RSF, has been brutal and relentless. Previously partners in government, the two parties ruled in a tense coalition with civilians after a popular revolution overthrew President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. The parties turned on the civilians before turning on each other. When it came, their confrontation was explosive, a revelation of just how much the RSF, created by Bashir from the rank of the Janjaweed fighters to protect him and fight his war in Darfur, has amassed power and resources in the shadows. The war that started in April 2023 was not between the military and an upstart militia, but two armies, both with arsenals, income stream, thousands of troops, and external supply lines. Since then, millions have been displaced. An estimated 1,500 have been killed, and more than 30 million people now need urgent humanitarian assistance. These staggering statistics still do not fully tell the story of Sudan's tragedy, the country's rapid unraveling, the destruction of its infrastructure, or the particularly merciless way the RSF has conducted its campaign in Darfur. And here is satellite footage. There's this satellite footage that I saw that just shows the ground is red. Like the ground is red. You can see it from space. The red patches on the ground shows where mass slaughtering took place. It's that graphic that you can see it from space. With El Fasher's capture, that's the community that has been captured, the area that has been captured, the RSF has consolidated its position in the west of the country. Having taken the capital city, Khartoum, in the earlier days of the war in 2023, the RSF then lost it to the military and focused its effort on Darfur. There, it has wreaked its vengeance on the non-Arab population, ethnically targeting them in mass killings. Earlier this year, in an attack on Sudan's largest displacement camp, I mean, they even went to IDP camps or displacement camps where people are taking refuge. The RSF slaughtered hundreds of civilians along ethnic lines. What further awaits El Fasher after its fall? A city that held out against the RSF for so long is unthinkable. The videos emerging are of locals pleading with militiamen for their life. One was told by a commander that none will be spared before being shot. "I will never have mercy on you," the commander said. "Our job is only killing." And it was all predicted and predictable. Warnings were being issued for months about the risk of mass slaughter and atrocities. 1 million displaced Darfuris fleeing other flashpoints have become concentrated in El Fasher. As fighting intensifies, they then disperse once again or become trapped. It is a scenario that not only recalls the first day of the Rwanda genocide, but surpasses episodes of Darfur's genocide 20 years ago. Only this time more concentrated and intense. That means in the past it was less concentrated and less intense, but now it is more concentrated and more intense. The RSF of today is the Janjaweed of yesteryear, except this time armed to the teeth, supported by powerful external allies, and with a renewed appetite to purge once more non-Arab population it has been hostile to for decades. Today they come not on camels or horseback, but on 4x4 technicals, armed with mounted machine guns and powerful drones. The arsenal and therefore the calamity of El Fasher and the wider Darfur region is sponsored by the United Arab Emirates, a staunch historical ally of the RSF, whose troop the UAE hired to prosecute its war in Yemen. The Emirates has pumped funds and weaponry into the RSF's hands, and in doing so extended the life and intensity of Sudan's war. It continues to deny its role despite overwhelming evidence. In return, the UAE secures a foothold in a large, strategic, resource-rich country and already receives majority of gold mined in RSF-controlled areas. Other actors have been drawn in, overlaying proxy agendas on a domestic conflict. The result is deadlock, quagmire, and blood loss, and that seems impossible to stem, even as crisis unravels in full view. Okay, that is a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot. Let's move on to another article. But before we do that, I know I'm just reading this like in a hurry, but it is really devastating to see what is happening in these places. It is really, really devastating. It is really devastating. I mean, the way lives are being like wasted, blood is being spilled because of obviously due to first of all, there's the political element of it, and then there's the tribal element. Okay, two armies are fighting, which is something I don't really understand in this. Like, I don't understand it when, like, local population, when they do it, especially in Africa, and I don't understand it when Muslims do it. I don't understand it at all. You have a conflict. Okay, when Muslims do it, it's kind of understandable. Not like it makes it good or is rational, but I mean, you can explain it. What I mean by understandable is like it's explainable. You can explain why the Muslims are doing it when the Muslims do it, right? For religious reasons. Like when they attack a village in Nigeria and they rape the women and kill people, it's kind of understandable because that's what they have been commanded to do in the Quran. Or explainable. You can explain it with the Quran. But when you see what is happening in Sudan, it's kind of hard to even use the Quran to justify this because the victims of this attack that we are reading about are Muslims. African Muslims being killed by Arab Muslims in a war sponsored by Arabs. The UAE sponsoring the RSF in killing Africans for gold. And I get it, like, let's say the Arabs want to take control. Okay, fine, you want to take control, but does that mean you have to exterminate the African population, oppress them, rape them, kill them, throw their dead bodies into the river, these are things that they have done, attack internally displaced camps, kill everyone you see on sight, so much that the earth is soaked with human blood and can be seen from satellites. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. Earlier, when I was preparing for this, I saw people talk about, the unity that exists in Islam. Islam is a religion that is, that unifies people of different race and people of different ethnicity and people of different whatever, that they are all united in Islam. And then I see something like this and I'm like, where is that unity? Where is the unity between the Arab Muslims and the Sudanese Muslims? Where is the unity? Where is that unity that you guys are fond of speaking of? It doesn't seem to exist. Nothing to indicate it that it is even in existence. Please, guys, keep saying something in the live chat so I will know that I'm talking to people. Because whenever I don't see the live chat moving, I ask myself, am I really talking to people? Are people here? It also helps with the algorithm. Like when you comment on the live chat, it helps with the algorithm. It helps to show that people are actually engaging with this stuff and I have real viewers that are watching this. Okay. Let me know what you think. Like, let me know what you think in the live chat. What do you think about what we are talking about the articles we've read, about the ruthlessness with which the RSF is killing African Muslims, and how the rest of the world is just quiet about it and nobody's even saying anything about this. This is outrageous. Where are the Muslims that care, that pretend, that always pretend that they care about each other? Okay, with what is happening in Sudan, why don't we have, that is my real complaint. Like, why don't we have Muslims, the ones that will cry about Palestine, the ones that will organize about Palestine, why don't we have them come out en masse and protest the killing that is happening in Sudan? Okay, Russia is one of the sponsors of this war in Sudan. Of course, they are sponsoring not the RSF, but the ASF. But before that, they used to sponsor the RSF. And you have Muslims in Russia. Of course, we know it is a dictatorship. What can they do, But even so, in the UAE, in all of these Muslim countries, where, talking about Palestine can be like that is their major issue. In Egypt, and all of these places, where are the Muslims? The 1.9 billion people. Here are two Muslims slaughtering each other, wasting each other's lives. This is why I always say whenever Muslims cry about Palestine, that these people do not care about the life of Palestinians. They don't care that Palestinians are slaughtered. They don't care about what is happening and how brutal it is. Whatever it is that they claim is happening in Palestine. What they care about is Israel and the nation of Israel and anything they can do to hurt that nation. That's all they care about. Because here you have Sudan, which is the worst humanitarian crisis in the world today. The worst. Nothing comes close. Nothing we can ever talk about comes close to what is happening in Sudan. Nothing. And yet not a word from the Muslim Brotherhood, not a word from their spokespeople people in the media, not a word from Bushra Sheikh, or Sheikh or whatever, however her name is pronounced, however you pronounce her name. Nothing from that woman, nothing from all the Muslim talking heads that we have, nothing from Muhammad Hijab, nothing from Daniel Hakikachu, nothing from Ali Dawa, nothing from any of these people, nothing from Greta, of course. You know, so unfortunate. I mean, this is so outrageous. What is happening in Sudan is so outrageous that even Al Jazeera is like, you know what, this is real, and we cannot say it is happening because of climate change. They even called it a true genocide. A true genocide. RSF kills at least 1,500 people in Sudan's El Fasher. Scores of people have been killed in attacks by the Rapid Support Forces during their recent capture of the city of El Fasher in Sudan's western Darfur region, according to a medical group and researchers. The RSF, which have been fighting Sudan's military for control of the country, killed at least 1,500 people over the past 3 days as civilians tried to flee the besieged city. The Sudan Doctors Network said on Wednesday. The group, which tracked the country's civil war, described the situation as a true genocide. And then they go on to say other things. And we have one from even a Turkish publication. And this this headline is from today. So you can see this is from yesterday, actually. At least 40 civilians killed in RSF drone attack in Sudan's north Kordofan. Now, this is not even happening in El Fasher. This is in Kordofan. And yeah, it is a real tragedy. To understand more about it, because I really want us to understand what is happening, understand this recent conflict, and also understand the history of this conflict. So the first thing we are going to try to do is understand the recent conflict. And I think this video on YouTube kind of helps to explain what is happening. And then we are going to
There's a brutal massacre playing out right.
Going to look at another video that explains the history of the conflict, because I want us to really understand. One thing that I want my viewers to understand is exactly what is happening, to be well grounded in what is happening. And yeah, so that is what we are hoping to achieve with this live stream.
Now in Sudan, where hundreds of
All right, so let me make this 1.5 speed so we can get through it quickly.
There's a brutal massacre playing out right now in Sudan where hundreds of civilians were murdered in a hospital earlier this week, and that's just part of it. We're seeing videos and hearing reports from eyewitnesses on the ground that the RSF, or Rapid Support Forces, are going house to house, killing every man, woman, and child. In fact, the violence is so extreme.
This is how they used to. I don't think this is how they operate now. I feel some of these clips are like old, because the Janjaweeds, they are the ones who are like the soldiers on camel backs. But now they have like modern equipment. They are no longer on camel backs. Allah has upgraded them. Or the devil himself. Well, what's the difference? Allah and the devil, what's the difference? I've upgraded them now. They now have machineries. They now have trucks. They now have stronger and more powerful equipment. They now have, what they now have can do more damage than what they've ever done before. That is kind of the problem.
That the blood-stained earth can be seen in satellite imagery. Now, this is a developing situation with a lot of unknowns on the ground, so let's dive into what we know so far about this recent uptick in violence in the ongoing Sudanese civil war. Now, a couple days ago, October 26th through the 28th, the RSF, or Rapid Support Forces, more on them here in a minute, captured El Fasher, the last major Sudanese armed forces held city in North Darfur. The SAF withdrew from key positions, allowing the RSF forces to enter the city, marking a potential turning point in the war. El Fasher was a humanitarian hub, sheltering as many as 260,000 people. And that is the area right now that the RSF is continuing to rampage through.
So 360,000 people in that city. And that 360,000 people are non-Arab, is non-Arab population, right? What do you think is going to become of those people, especially the ones that will not be able to make it? What do you think will happen to them? This is going to... man, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy.
Now, in recent days, we've seen countless videos published by the RSF showing their elements methodically moving house to house, clearing them, killing them of every man, woman, and child. Now,
that is, I mean, and the funny thing is that they are not even hiding. This is 2025, the age of the internet, the age of getting famous, and they want to get famous. So they are publishing this, like they are going house to house, methodically, like just gradually. They're not wasting, they're not rushing. They're house to house, killing people. House to house, killing people. Just imagine that. House to house, killing people.
A little background here from the BBC. They say Sudan plunged into a civil war in April 2023 after a vicious struggle for power broke out between its army and a powerful paramilitary group, or the RSF, the Rapid Support Forces. More than 150,000 people have died in the conflict across the country, and about 12 million people have fled their homes in what the United Nations has called the world's largest humanitarian crisis. Now, a little information on the SAF versus the RSF, the two major belligerents in this conflict. There are some smaller armed groups as well. SAF stands for Sudanese Armed Forces. This is the official military of Sudan, and
they've taken over the eastern region. The ASF has taken over this region, the eastern region, and the RSF has taken control of the western region, taking over the western region. The only stronghold that was left for them was El Fasher, and now they've taken over that as well. And
reserve centralized control over the country. They're backed to various degrees by Egypt, Turkey, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. The RSF, or Rapid Support Forces, is a paramilitary organization backed also to varying degrees by the UAE, as well as remnants of the Russian Wagner Group. Now, the core argument here back in 2023 had to do with integration of the RSF into the larger SAF. SAF wanted that integration to take place inside of 2 years, and for the Rapid Support Forces, their leadership structure would remain junior, so it would be a subordinate element to SAF. RSF wanted integration after 10 years while maintaining their own chain of command, their own business interests, and they wanted their chain of command to be equal to that of the SAF. That was not resolved despite some attempts at negotiations, and the fighting has raged ever since. The most notable uptick recently was a hospital killing just a few days ago in North Darfur, according to the Associated Press.
And here's the funny thing. These people used to be allies. Like the SAF and the RSF came together to dethrone al-Bashir. They came together, they united together to take over the country. They used to be allies. And over issue of how are we going to restructure, how are we going to, as a military, how are we going to operate? Just that, and now look at what is happening. The RSF has essentially gone back, because the RSF was the army that was created by al-Bashir. They are the Janjaweeds. When there was civil uprising in Sudan, especially when we'll look into all of that. What one of the tools used by the government to quell down the uprising. By uprising, I don't mean intifada, okay? I just mean where local groups were picking up arms to resist the government. When that was happening, al-Bashir was like, how do I bring law and order? How do I control my people? He's like, yeah, let me get the Janjaweeds, let me get these Arab fighters to come, to the country and help me quell down this conflict. The same way how you have some politicians in Nigeria. Sorry, I'm going to use Nigeria as an example because I know that I have some Nigerian listeners and they will understand this. Just like how, because some people wanted to win an election in this country, they went and imported militias from Niger Republic and Cameroon and the rest of them to come over here. And now they are dealing with it. That has created the, Fulani militant crisis that we experience in Nigeria. Somebody is always inviting these people, not knowing what the future is going to hold. You are inviting them because you want to fix, temporal fix. Quick fix to the problem. Let's invite these people. And then you invite them and then living becomes the problem. Now they want to wipe out the local population and create an Arab state in Sudan.
Press. Sudan's paramilitary forces killed hundreds of people at a hospital, including patients, after they seized the provincial capital of North Darfur over the weekend. The 460 patients and their companions were reportedly killed Tuesday at the Saudi hospital by fighters from the Rapid Support Forces in the city of Al-Fasher. The director is according to the Director General of the World Health Organization. They say as a part of the assault, RSF fighters went from house to house, beating and shooting at people, including women and children. Many died of gunshot wounds in the streets, while others were killed as they tried to flee to safety. Now, in a report late on Tuesday, the Yale School of Public Health's Humanitarian Research Lab put out some interesting imagery that I'm going to run through here, documenting some of these mass killings. And it says something, the scope of the violence, when the mass killings can be documented from satellites in space. And that's what we have here. Again, this source is the Yale Humanitarian Research Lab. I will link their full report in the description below. First image here, they say, was collected on October 27th. The presence of clusters of light and dark colored objects consistent with the size of human bodies. Reddish ground discoloration in vehicles are also visible. These observations are not seen in prior satellite imagery.
Look at
Second
that.
picture here, they note 2 reddish ground discolorations that are visible and not seen in prior imagery. Multiple vehicles present in the same area, which appears consistent with the door-to-door clearance operations.
Look at
we should
that.
note, again, by most accounts, the SAF, the militant group, not militant group, but the actual Sudanese military, left the area. So these house-to-house clearance operations appear to be exclusively focused on civilians.
Yes,
Third
so
picture
there's
here,
no.
they say that-
That's important to note because there's no military presence. The SAF is not there, so the RSF is not attacking soldiers. It's not soldiers that they are killing; it's civilians that they are killing, going from door to door, house to house, slaughtering and just wasting human life like it is nothing.
Presence of 2 clusters of light and dark colored objects consistent with the size of human bodies, as well as reddish ground discoloration in vehicles also visible. Picture 4 here. Imagery shows the presence of clusters of objects, ground discoloration, and light tactical vehicles. The objects within these clusters measure between 1.5 and 2 meters in length. A group of light technical vehicles appear to be blocking the road near what appears to be a red discoloration on the ground. One cluster of objects is flanked by 3 light technical vehicles. And image 5 here. Imagery shows the presence of clusters of objects along the defensive berm. These objects are not visible on imagery collected on 26 October, and the appearance of these objects coincides with the reports that civilians were shot attempting to flee Al-Fashir over the berm. In fact, a quick note on that berm, according to CNN, they quote Nathaniel Raymond, the executive director of the research lab, saying, quote, "The rapid support forces have surrounded this city in an earth wall called a berm that's as high as 9 feet. So the context here is that these people inside are what we call a kill box. They have been walled in to be killed systematically, and right now, the rapid support forces are doing just that. In fact, we are starting to see a number of international organizations speak out against this and notify the world that this is happening. We have this video published just a couple days ago from the United Nations Human Rights Office.
This is. I mean, you create a wall around the city and just systematically, you're not even, and nobody is there to stop you. Like, nobody is there to stop you. You're just going systematically door to door, killing these people. Nobody is there to stop these people. They're just doing it and no one is there to stop them. No one.
Receiving multiple alarming reports from Sudan that the rapid support forces are carrying out atrocities, including summary executions, after seizing control of large parts of the besieged city of Al-Fashir in North Darfur and of Bara city in North Kordofan state. It is an extremely precarious situation, and the risk of further large-scale, ethnically motivated violations and atrocities is mounting by the day. Concrete action is urgently needed to ensure the protection of civilians in Al-Fashir and safe passage for those trying to reach relative safety. We remind the RSF commanders of their obligations under international humanitarian law to ensure the protection of civilians and to ensure...
Now, terrorists, they say, sorry, let me speak English. You're telling a terrorist that they should be mindful of their international commitment. International commitment to what? These people look like they even care. The UN is very funny organization. We want to remind the RSF of their commitment to humanity, to international law. Do they look like they care about international law? Have they ever pretended they even care about international law? You want to remind them of what? You think they are watching your video saying, oh, well, we're about to kill this, we just surrounded this home and we've gathered like 90 persons and we want to execute them. But hey, look at this fine lady, a lady for that matter. She's telling us, we need to respect our commitment to international law. Maybe we should not kill these 90 persons. You think that's what they are doing? So interesting to see these people say, I want to remind you of your commitment to international law. They are not committed to international law.
the passage of essential supplies and humanitarian assistance.
Now, turning back to that CNN report, they say reports of RSF fighters committing large-scale massacres began to emerge within hours of the Sudanese military's withdrawal from Al-Fashir earlier this week. These accounts have been corroborated by mounting evidence that includes videos and photos from the ground, survivor testimonies, and as we saw just a moment ago, satellite imagery. Now, they do have some pushback here from the RSF. They say RSF Chief Mohammed Dagalo, known as Hemedi, acknowledged Wednesday that there had been violations, and he said an investigative committee would be launched to investigate and hold accountable any soldier or officer who committed a crime. In a separate statement, the RSF denied claims of killings at the hospital, describing them as fabricated narratives with no connection to reality, despite, of course, what we have seen, mounting evidence of atrocities. And a quick note on the further delineation between the SAF and RSF.
I mean, is the RSF not an interesting military organization? You finish killing people, there is footage of it. Your soldiers have themselves on camera doing it. They are proud about it. They are not hiding it by any way. We even have satellite images showing that this is happening. And then you're like, oh, this is not true. Yes, we are going to do something about those who, if any, who are partaking in this killing. Like, come on. The way with these people, I think they are making fun of the world. Like, I think those spokespersons are like, yeah, let's just tell the world something so they can get off our backs. Or let's just pretend like we are responding to them, even though we are just going to go ahead. It's still ongoing. Like, as I'm talking to you now, it's ongoing. It's not like they stopped. At this point, you don't even have people on the ground to give an accurate report of what is going on. It's that bad. Like, there's a media blackout in El Fasher. You can't really tell how much of what is. You can't really tell exactly what is going on. We are basing what we know based on the satellite footage and what some of the doctors and some people who escaped are saying, and what we can tell from those who are in the hospital and the fact that none has survived. This is what we are gathering all we know from. So unfortunate. It's just so unfortunate.
The SAF has been accused in multiple occasions of targeting civilians or being indiscriminate in their shellings of RSF-controlled areas. But when we're looking at some of the more significant atrocities, just brutal atrocities, including the one being carried out right now, those tend to come at the hands of the RSF. And there's not really a close second there. CNN says multiple videos shared online over the past 3 days show RSF fighters rounding up and killing large numbers of unarmed people. CNN was able to match the insignia worn by the fighters in several of the videos to the one used by the RSF. They say most of the videos appear to have been filmed and shared by the rebels themselves. Other videos show armed RSF fighters driving through large swaths of land, apparently hunting civilians who are attempting to flee. In one video, the rebels are heard saying, quote, "Catch the girls." And that's another mark of this conflict that we've seen for a few years now is, without a doubt, large-scale, widespread, indiscriminate killing of civilians, men, women, and children, and the capturing and raping of women, young women, girls, is probably a better way to put it, by the RSF. So no doubt, as these atrocities are ongoing and the cold-blooded killings are happening throughout Al Fasher, we have to recognize as well that there likely are a large number of young, very young women being captured by the RSF and raped day in and day out. That's the situation on the ground in Sudan right now. We are starting to see more and more countries speak out, become more vocal about this ongoing conflict. Not a lot in terms of actions being taken, at least not at this point. In terms of United States reactions or response, I've not really seen anything at all or even a mention. I could have missed that. We'll probably hear some condemnations is what I would expect here in coming days. But either way, pretty significant atrocities playing out right now in Sudan. We'll do our absolute best to keep you updated as.
All right, so there is that. That's like the end of the video, and yep, that is a major update. Before we go to the history of what is happening in Sudan, so you guys can understand how this all started, and before we get into that, I want to acknowledge those who have been putting their money where my mouth is. Okay. I don't know if I've read this before, but let me do it anyways. Nosferatu Creations Alternative Fashion. Thank you for the $10 super sticker. I really appreciate that. Next, we have my favorite at this point, Olajide Adeoye. Thank you. Good afternoon. Good evening to you too. I hope your day has been fantastic. Thank you for always tuning in and giving me your money. Putting it where my mouth is, like I always say. And then we have Isaiah True One saying there is an ex-Muslim woman that testified to the U.S. Congress on radical Islamic terrorists that testify to the U.S. Congress on radical Islamic terrorists, I guess, desire to expand. Yes, they claim peaceful, but she explained that it is a tactic to invade communities until time comes. Yeah, that is, I mean, especially in the West, that's kind of like their tactic. They come in, oh, we are peaceful. We are all about peace. We are all about rights for minorities. We care about minority rights. But then when they get that minority rights, they use it to become the majority. And then when they become the majority, they institute Sharia. And when they institute Sharia, the right of minorities become non-existent, because that is not something that is recognized in Islam. Olajide Adeoye said, government pandering to Muslims and extremist Muslims are using the Western value to bring them into submission. That's also kind of what we see in the West, especially. You see these people come into the West and use the Western values against Westerners, because Westerners don't have their value based on something. They have no basis for whatever it is that they claim that they hold as values, whether they call it inclusion, whether they call it tolerance, whether they call it diversity. It is based on nothing. So these people exploit that. And yeah, that is all true. Thank you for the super chats and the super stickers. I really appreciate it. You can also send in more, okay? The live stream is not ending, okay? All right, let's look at this video. I think this one is going to help explain the war itself, especially the recent conflict. It's 23 minutes long, but of course we'll go in 1.25 speed.
This is the Sudan civil war,
and I will try
a battle
as much
between allied warlords turned bitter enemies that is tearing.
Thank you. Anyway, so where was I?
Apart this impoverished African nation.
I said pause.
It is just the latest.
Good. Anyways, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Okay, back to what I was saying. I can't even remember what I wanted to say. This thing has made me forget my line of thought. Anyway, let's get into this video. Let's react to this video. And yeah, like I said, this one tells the history of what is happening and helps us to understand how this whole thing started in 2003, April of 2023. Okay, so let's get into that.
This is the Sudan civil war, a battle between allied warlords turned bitter enemies that is tearing apart this impoverished African nation.
It
is just the latest.
Let's move along.
And will the country ever see peace? Let's find out. This is Sudan in northeastern Africa. It is one of the largest, least developed, and most war-torn countries on the entire continent. Today, there are two separate nations, Sudan and South Sudan. But all of this was originally part of one enormous country. The capital, Khartoum, is here, where the Blue and White Nile rivers join before flowing into Egypt. This arid northern part of Sudan is primarily Arab Islamic, the single largest ethnic and religious group in the country who dominate its military and political institutions. The greener central and southern parts are home to Christians and a plethora of other ethnic and religious groups, over 300 of them by some estimates. For centuries, Sudan was ruled from the outside. The Egyptians, the Ottomans, and the British were all in control at one point. But in 1956, it won independence and was immediately plunged into chaos. Sudan's newly elected government was weak, divided, and struggling to get anything done amid a civil war that was already underway between North and South. Within 3 years, there were 3 coups, one of which overthrew the government and replaced it with a military strongman, establishing a pattern that we'll see repeat over and over. Despite the coup, the war continued for another 2 decades, only ending in 1972. The man who achieved peace was Jafar Nemieri, a former colonel who ran a strict one-party socialist state. Incredibly, he managed to keep Sudan's many factions from fighting, surviving another 3 coups along the way until 1983, when he attempted to impose Sharia law. This caused the South's non-Muslim groups to revolt again, beginning another 20-year civil war. Nimieri would not see the end of it. In 1985, a coup finally got him, ushering in another very brief period of democratic rule. But once again, the government proved too weak and divided to rule. And in 1989, well, I think you can guess what happened. This time, the coup leader was Omar al-Bashir, a brutal dictator who would rule for the next 3 decades. You might know al-Bashir as the man who unleashed a genocide in Darfur, this far western region of Sudan on the border with Chad. Darfur is majority Arab, like the rest of the north, but has significant black African populations as well. Tensions between these groups go way back, but were made worse because of climate change, which began in the 1960s and dried up a lot of the farming.
Daily Mail said climate change. Okay. It's made worse by climate change. Okay.
Land. By 2003, with the Second Civil War still raging, these simmering tensions boiled over, and two African groups took up arms against the government. Bashir responded by arming and unleashing Arab militias known collectively as the Janjaweed on them, resulting in a genocide. The wider civil war ended in 2005 with a peace deal that guaranteed the South a referendum on independence, which...
And here is something to know about the genocide that was carried out by the Janjaweeds that were sanctioned and sanctioned by al-Bashir. The Janjaweeds are the RSF today. They morphed, okay? They morphed into the RSF that we have today. And the same thing they are doing today is the same thing that we are doing under al-Bashir. It was simple. You go in, you take over these communities. You say, oh, you are trying to quiet down dissenters. You're trying to quiet down these rebel forces. You're trying to quiet them down. And in quieting them down and, restoring law and order, restoring security to the region, what you end up doing is just essentially killing innocent civilians, slaughtering them, raping them, just like the same thing you are seeing them doing right now in El Fasher. That's the same thing that we are doing in Darfur. It was a serious humanitarian crisis that went on during the First and the Second Civil War under al-Bashir. It was deadly, and it was the Janjaweeds. Then they were on camelback. They would be on camelback with their AK-47 or with their machetes, and they would go into these areas and they were, committing these very, very deadly and bloody atrocities, killing people, innocent people, even children, and raping girls. So it's important to know that. So it's still the same problem. It has not changed. It just has a new name now.
Easily passed and created the nation of South Sudan in 2011. But it didn't stop the fighting in Darfur, which continued until 2020. In those 16 years of conflict, an estimated 300,000 people were killed and 3 million displaced. It drew international condemnation and resulted in Bashir becoming the first national leader to be charged with genocide by the International Criminal Court. It was during this conflict that the two warlords we mentioned earlier met and became allies. Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hamedi, and Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. Hamedi, whose name means Little Muhammad, was born in Darfur, making him something of a yokel among Sudan's military and political elite. He rose to prominence fighting as part of the Janjaweed and then serving as its leader, with his fighters earning a reputation for shocking levels of brutality. In 2013, Hamedi rebranded the Janjaweed as the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, and used his connections in Khartoum to secure official ranks for himself and his men, along with a heap of government funding. He then used the RSF to grow his power. He secured allies in Libya and Yemen by sending his fighters there as mercenaries, and he also cut deals with Russia's feared Wagner group, particularly when it came to exploiting Sudan's gold mines, which he used to line his own pockets. Hamedi's family now like to brag that they are one of the richest in Africa. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, on the other hand, is a member of the Khartoum elite. Born in a village just north of the capital, he's a career military man. He served first in the border guards, then in a military college as an instructor, before ending up as a commander in Sudan's ground forces. It was this role that saw him deployed to Darfur, where he met and struck up an alliance with Hamedi. The two worked closely together to crush the Darfur rebels and helped coordinate overseas troop deployments to Yemen. Burhan was eventually recalled to Khartoum.
And by being deployment to Yemen is that they were helping the United Arab Emirates to fight the war in Yemen. That was the deployment to Yemen. Okay, they were helping the UAE over here to fight the rebel forces in Yemen. The Janjaweeds were being used, and they were also used by Gaddafi to fight in Libya, which you can see is just sharing a border with Sudan. So the RSF had planted themselves, established themselves as a military force in Sudan. You invite them, they establish themselves, and now you have a problem on your hands. That is how it happens.
And promoted to Inspector General of the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF, while Hamedi stayed in Darfur. But the two men were reunited in 2019 when protests began to threaten Bashir's rule. Against the odds, Bashir had survived 5 coups and was still in control of Khartoum, but was about to face the uprising that would bring him down. What began as marches over an economic crisis quickly escalated into calls for a change in leadership, with Burhan and the SAF deployed to the streets. But as the situation deteriorated, Bashir summoned the RSF and Hamedi to help in what would prove to be a fatal mistake. Hamedi arrived in the capital, but instead of protecting Bashir, he teamed up with Burhan to overthrow him. At first, these old allies worked together to create a civilian government. But again, it proved weak and ineffective, so they carried out a coup against the very same government in 2021. This is where the roots of the current civil war lie, because the coup landed the two men in an uneasy power-sharing agreement. The goal was to return to civilian rule, with the RSF and SAF to combine forces. But, as ever in Sudan, civilian rule lost out. Deadlines lapsed, trust between Burhan and Hamedi broke down, and then a fresh round of fighting erupted in 2023. This is the biggest war you've never heard of, pitting two former allies against one another in a brutal struggle for power. It is the war that has wrecked the Sudanese economy and spelled disaster for its people, sparking the largest humanitarian crisis in the world today. This is the Sudan Civil War, and this is Battleboard.
This reminds me of what's the name of this guy that used to work for? I've forgotten his name. He does this thing with maps. I've forgotten his name. He's famous. I think I saw his thumbnail earlier. It reminds me of Johnny Harris's video. But this is more informative. Johnny Harris does all this dramatic stuff and then tells you a bunch of nothing. I don't like watching his videos. Sorry, this is me dunking on him, but he does a lot of dramatic stuff and it can be captivating, but he's telling you nothing. I don't like videos like that. Like, you're doing a lot of drama. You're like, oh, I'm seeing something, but you're learning nothing. You're just being entertained. You're not being informed. But I like this one better because it kind of broke down what exactly is happening and lets you understand, okay, this is exactly what is happening. And I like that. So thus far, what we know from what we just watched is how both the leader of the ASF and the leader of the RSF, Sudanese Allied Forces and Rapid RSF, I'm not even interested in, knowing what they stand for at this point. The RSF and the SAF, how they came together, the leaders of both military groups came together to overthrow al-Bashir, and then they installed a civilian government. And then later, when the civilian government was too weak to handle the problem in Sudan, they organized the coup and, uprooted the civilian leader. And after that happened, there was now like this power sharing problem. Like, how do you control, how do these two powerful forces, one, of course, is the standard or the official Sudan army, that's the ASF, and then the other one is like a mercenary, the RSF. So how can both operate within the same country? How would they be able to do that? So there had to be a power sharing scheme. And the goal for the ASF was, okay, you guys are going to, in 2 years, become part of the ASF. Their plan was the RSF in 2 years is going to be integrated into the ASF, and they will take junior position in the ASF. But the RSF were like, no, we are going to integrate in 10 years, and we are going to have equal. We are not going to be junior officers. We are going to be equal. We'll have the same power and everything. And that was where the problem began. And because of that, there was a conflict. And that was what led to the civil war, or the new wave of conflicts in Sudan in 2023. Power sharing. So let's...
Sudan as it is today. South Sudan is over here, Darfur is over here, and here is the capital of Khartoum. It is mid-April 2023, and the country has just erupted into war. Unlike the past, where civil wars have pitched north against south, this conflict is pitting east against west. Operating out of their traditional power base in Darfur are Hamedi's RSF. Being a former militia, They are made up mostly of infantry, wielding rifles, machine guns and mortars. They also have a significant number of man-pads, shoulder-launched rockets designed to take down aircraft. What vehicles they do have are technicals, pickup trucks with heavy weapons welded to the back. These work best in fast raids in open countryside rather than pitched battles in large cities. The SAF, meanwhile, are concentrated in the east of the country, with their power base being Port Sudan. They have a lot more heavy equipment than the RSF, tanks, jets and artillery guns, but most of these systems are ancient. Some of their howitzers, like the M30, saw service in the Second World War. The bulk of their Soviet tanks date back to the 1940s, and their MiG-29 jets date to the 1980s. In terms of total strength, the RSF are believed to number somewhere around 100,000 men, though that figure needs to be taken with a pinch of salt. SAF numbers are even harder to pin down. IISS, a respected think tank, put them at just over 100,000, but some estimates are up to 300,000. As the war begins, RSF fighters quickly challenge the government for control in these areas of Darfur, centered around the regional capital of Nyala. They also seize control of parts of the neighboring Kordofan region around the city of El Obeid, stretching up to the western outskirts of the capital, Khartoum. Aside from Nyala and El Obeid, clashes also break out in Al Fashir, the capital of North Darfur, located here, and El Dain, the capital of East Darfur, located here. While the RSF are concentrated in just a few locations, the SAF are spread out across the entire country, all the way from El Dain to the Ethiopian border over here. They are also stationed along the Nile to the border in Egypt in the north. Because Sudan is so large, that means much of the army's fighting strength is unavailable for the battle that is about to erupt in the capital, Khartoum.
All right, so the breakdown of what happened afterwards, let me not allow him to bore you, okay? Let me just give you a breakdown of what happened afterwards. What happened afterwards is that the RSF took over Khartoum, the capital of parts of it, many parts of it, took over many parts of Khartoum. In fact, most part of it, they went eastward into Sudan and took over many territories. But things began to change in 2025 when the SAF started receiving support from Egypt, from Russia, from Iran, and other countries, like that. Why the RSF was just primarily being funded by the UAE. So because of the funding that was coming and the reinforcement that was coming from Egypt, coming from even Ethiopia and other surrounding countries, that we are even worried that if this issue is not dealt with, it will spill over to their region, So because of that, they were willing to support the SAF, and because of that support that the SAF received, they were able to reclaim Khartoum, which is the capital, and push the RSF back to the west, okay, and hold major parts of the east. Now, the only place that was under the control of the SAF, I know I've been calling them ASF, but the SAF, the only part of eastern Sudan that was under the control of the SAF was Al Fashir. That was like their last stronghold in western, not eastern, right? This is the west. This is the west, and this is the east, right? So eastern, I'm not even sure at this point. But in that region that was controlled by the RSF, the only place that the SAF had like a stronghold, their last stronghold, was Al Fashir, and that was what just fell recently. The SAF withdrew because they could no longer, maintain their hold on Al Fashir. They withdrew, and now the RSF are taking over, and by taking over, they are slaughtering people. So that's the summary of what is happening in Sudan. It's really outrageous, really unfortunate. And yeah. You can. I think I'll put the links to all of this in the description. This video and the one we saw earlier, I'll put links to that in the description. So moving on, we go to Mozambique. Now, I didn't want to talk about Mozambique earlier, but my sister in Christ brought this to my attention. Although I had known about what was happening in Mozambique, but she brought it to my attention. And I was like, okay, you know what? While I'm talking about all the conflicts that are happening in this part of the world in Africa, let me talk about Mozambique. It is close to South Africa, so it's very... it's close to home for her. more than it is for me. So this is for you, Jax. All right, so let's start with this. It is one thing about Mozambique is that unlike Sudan, where you have news articles talking about it, it's kind of difficult to get news stories about what is happening in Mozambique. It's kind of difficult. It's not easy to come by. But you see many of the reports on like Twitter. That's where you see many people talking about it. Beyond that, there is like almost no mention of it in the mainstream media. All right, so this is from this user. He said Islamic State Mozambique Province, that is ISMP or ISMP or ISMP, released its documentary titled The Light of Jihad, focused on recent attacks against the Mozambican and Rwandan military in northern Mozambique, including some backstory of the group. So the group in this documentary, I think it's a 14-minute documentary. In the documentary, they showed what they have been doing, how they have been terrorizing region. And they claim in the documentary, which you cannot find online because it has been scrubbed off the internet, but you can see some summary, like some articles summarizing what the documentary was about. They claim that they are trying to, of course, they're trying to liberate and protect the interest of Muslims in Mozambique, and that Muslims have been, Muslims in Mozambique have been marginalized. And they send, they even have videos of them in mosque. They go to mosque in Mozambique preaching to the people. And of course, they are preaching the true Islam, the ISIS version, which I call the true Islam. And one news article I was able to find from a notable, or let's say from the mainstream media, is this article from the New York Times. This part of Mozambique was like paradise. Now it is a terrorist hotbed. Islamic State militants have rampaged across the northern Cabo Delgado province for more than 7 days. The government says the situation has stabilized. Residents tell a different story. Now, this is from January 12, 2025, and from the reports we are seeing recently, it is obvious that the situation has not been stabilized. On October, we traveled to Cabo Delgado province in northern Mozambique to understand how terrorists who claim an affiliation with the Islamic State have gained a foothold and wreaked havoc on Muslims and Christians alike. Now, I like how now this is bad reporting because it's not just Christians and Muslims alike. They are targeting Christians. This is the one that I don't just like. Like when it is clear that they are targeting Christians, just say it. Don't do this Muslims and Christians alike nonsense. Officials in the region and in the West say that they are deeply concerned that if the Islamic State affiliates known as ISIS Mozambique is not contained, then the loosely linked Islamic State network that has been gaining ground in the pockets of Africa could become a larger global threat. What locals call the war has robbed the region of what was a largely peaceful life of fishing and farming. Nearly 6,000 people have been killed, and up to half of the province's 2.3 million people have been displaced. Finding food and shelter have become a daily struggle in a province rich with natural resources like rubies, gas, and timber. Since our visit, the country has grown only more tense. After a disputed presidential election, Mozambique has been engulfed in the worst election-related violence since a long-running civil war ended in 1992. Tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets across the country to protest a result that many believed was rigged by the governing party. Nearly 300 people have been killed during the protest, according to Decide Election Platform, a civil society organization. On top of that, Cabo Delgado and this other province to the south took a direct hit from Cyclone Chido in mid-December, killing as many as 120 people, displacing tens of thousands, and leaving many without food and clean water. Okay, amid all of this, insurgents' attacks have risen sharply in Cabo Delgado, creating new uncertainties. As government officials earlier has said they have largely creating new uncertainties after government officials earlier had said that they have largely defeated ISIS Mozambique, which of course turned out not to be true. There is little doubt that the insurgency is at its weakest diplomatic and civil analysis. There is little doubt that the insurgency is at its weakest diplomatic and security analysts say. down to a few hundred fighters from several thousand. This is mostly because international troops led by the Rwanda military have picked up the slack for Mozambique ill-equipped and ill-trained armed forces. But insurgents have now broken into small groups scattered across dense forest of a province roughly the size of Australia, turning the conflict into a game of whack-a-mole. Security experts say attacks are smaller than in the past, but they are more frequent in 2024 than in 2023 and are spread to previously unaffected areas. The government is doing the best it can, this person said, and he's the governor of the province, and he said that in an interview. The insurgency, then there are other things that I said. I don't even want to read the rest of this article because I find it very boring. But the insurgency started in 2017 and has continued till date, even though the government is claiming, that's the government of Mozambique is claiming that they have this under control. But according to this article, what brought it under control was the intervention of the Rwanda military. But let me see if I can read some of the things that has been said here. On October 2017, more than 24 insurgents raided a police station in this place and killed 2 officers in the first attack of the insurgency. Back then, the group called itself Al-Shabaab. Analysts said it is unaffiliated with the Shabaab in Somalia. Researchers said it had begun forming around 2005 when the teachings of extremist clerics from neighboring Tanzania to the north began infiltrating the mosque and madrasas in Cabo Delgado. To win recruits, the extremists told the locals that while they struggle in poverty, their land was rich in natural resources, lucrative natural gas reserve that have attracted some 24 billion in foreign investment, including nearly 5 billion from the United States. We are nearby, off the coastal town of Palma. Resentment of the government grew with multiple reports of the Mozambican military assaulting or killing civilians in Palma. But the insurgents' earlier message quickly got lost in their brutality. Okay. In March 2020, Islamic militants gathered village residents on a soccer field in this place and warned them not to associate with the government or we are going to decapitate everyone, recalled Sanula Issa. Okay? Only a couple of weeks later, Miss Issa said she was startled awake early one morning by gunfires and shouts of Allahu Akbar. She raced to the beach with her husband and 3 children, she said, and tried to pile into boats with others, but the insurgents grabbed her husband and decapitated him with a machete, said Mrs. Issa, 33, wiping away tears with a pink headscarf. They are evil, said Miss Issa, who once cooked rice for sailors. They ruined people's lives, innocent people. But it's not as though the locals turned to the government. Our dislike goes both ways, said Rabia Issa, who is no relation to Sanula Issa. She lost her brother and sister and her home in this place in an insurgent attack 5 years ago. We don't see good coming either from the government or the insurgents. For most of his 20 years, this person had a comfortable life in a shack near the ocean, fishing with his family. But since insurgents stormed his seaside village of this place 2 years ago, he has been sleeping on blankets in his aunt's yard in this place, sharing a tent with 2 relatives. More than 8,000 people have been displaced and are now crowded in this area, which has previously held about 2,000 residents. Aid organizations say Mozambique's conflict does not get the assistance it needs because it is overshadowed by other global crises. What else? What else can we glean from this article? Anyway, that's all we are going to read from this. So let's move on to other articles talking about this. Or better still, let's look at this report. This is a report from, I think, a few years ago. And this is it a few years ago? Yeah, this is like 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I guess. 5 years, I don't know. This is an attack in Mozambique that led to the beheading of 50 people in northern Mozambique. And what this article, because it's written by Al Jazeera, will not tell you is that the 50 people that were beheaded were Christians. Here is another report from CSI. Catholic Solidarity International. Tens of thousands flee as Islamic militants terrorize Christian villages. This is from October 30, 2025. The Islamic State is continuing devastating attacks in Cabo Delgado and this other province, beheading Christians, burning churches, and displacing thousands, while the international attention remains elsewhere. Since 2017, Christians in Mozambique's North Cabo Delgado province have endured immense suffering due to attacks by jihadists affiliated with the Islamic State. These terrorists have been targeting Christian villages, burning churches, murdering pastors, and forcing entire communities to flee for their lives. The violence has intensified in recent months, with attacks now spreading to neighboring Nampula province as well. Radical Islamic Jihad group, particularly the Islamic State Mozambique and Al-Shabaab, are continuing their campaign against Christian communities. While information about the attacks remains scarce due to limited communication and reliable news reports from the region, Christian Solidarity International continues to receive updates on the deteriorating situation from our partners on the ground. The jihadists attacked this village on July 30, 2025 and burned down 2 churches. Other districts that suffer attacks between July and August include this one, and this one. Attacks that displaced over 50,000 people according to a report by this person, or by this group rather. The violence has now spread beyond traditional target areas. A community leader in this place reported that terrorist attacks have reached the town itself, threatening an area that lies far from previously targeted locations in Cabo Delgado. Many refugees have previously fled to this place, believing it was safe, but now it is no longer the case. The insurgents are creating terror. CSI partners reported killing random victims, not just Christians, and causing mass hunger, as people cannot go to their farms to grow or harvest food. Then you have stories of survivors, stories of non-Muslim targets, and prayer and aid and all whatnot. But let's read. Before I dismiss all of that, let's read like the stories of some of the survivors. First-hand accounts from survivors paint a grim picture of the crisis. 2 women who barely escaped the massacre shared their experience with CSI. People fled from the terrorists in this place. Our houses were burnt, and we came running to this other place. But even here, we are really suffering, one woman said. In the refugee camp in this place, where they have been for several months, conditions remain desperate. There is nothing to eat, the woman explained. My children are out of school. I have a child in 6th grade and another in 10th grade, and now we have no money to send our kids to school. The house we are staying in have been loaned to us, but the owner wants to sell it. My uncle, who is staying with us, is handicapped. We do not have a way to help him, and we do not have any way to return to our community because our house has been burnt down. Another woman's plea was for her 2 grandchildren. We are insecure in this place and we don't have any food to eat. Back in our hometown, our whole family was killed. My biggest request is for help for our children to study. Please help us to educate our kids. That's the support we really need. Then non-Muslim targets. According to CSI's partner in Mozambique, terrorists continue to explore intimidation tactics, including sending threatening letters, blocking roads, and demanding exorbitant payments from non-Muslims attempting to use public roads. It's called jizya. One resident reported that a beheading recently took place less than 2 kilometers from his town, between this village and another village, which forced the person reporting this to flee and seek temporary refuge in this province. Despite widespread fear, he said he planned to return home. A local pastor recounted that he had arrived at the health center where his wife works for an Islamic militant. A local pastor recounted that he had arrived at the health center where his wife works just as Islamic militants entered the town. When his wife heard the insurgents approaching, she froze, but her husband grabbed her, took her inside the building, turned the light off. The militants passed by their building and moved to the next house where they beheaded a local teacher. On October 10, this year, that's 2025, CSI received reports from a man on the scene that Islamic militants had stormed the coastal town of Palma in Cabo Delgado and conducted a house-to-house raid, breaking down doors and asking residents if they were Muslims. Those who could not prove that they were Muslims were killed. Last year, CSI reported that Islamic State forces in Cabo Delgado were beheading Christians, destroying churches, and subjecting some Christians to the jizya, the traditional tax imposed on Christians and Jews under Islamic rule. So that is what is happening. That is a quick read of what is happening in Mozambique. Now, here is ISIS soldiers delivering a sermon in the mosque in Cabo Delgado. It's about to be, it will soon load. It's from Twitter. You know how Twitter loads, so bear with Twitter. Okay. ISIS Mozambique released a video showing parts of the speech held at one of the mosques in this place earlier this week. Here's the full translation. So we'll not play this and we'll just read the translation. And of course, if you want to see them at the mosque, here's the video of them at the mosque. You can see the ISIS soldier at the mosque. You can see they are filming themselves. You can see their flag. You can see this is ISIS proper. And here they are in the mosque giving instruction to Muslims. And you can see them radicalizing them, preparing them to take up arms and, give their life in the fight for Allah, of course. So you can see that the future is bright for the residents of Cabo Delgado in Mozambique. So here is the full translation of what was said in the mosque. O Muslims, today you have learned why we fight. We fight for the sake of Tawheed, that's for monotheism according to Islam, or the Islamic definition of monotheism, that's Tawheed. We are not thieves or bandits, as they slander us. Well, it's not Nigeria, don't worry. I don't think they will soon be calling you guys bandits. We fight so that the word of God may be supreme and Tawheed will rule the world. This is not the banner of Uyusi or Daniel Chapo, the former and current president of Mozambique. This is the banner. There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. We need loyal men who fear nothing, as God says in the Quran, and who are not afraid of blame from anyone. So clearly this is meant as a propaganda message for the local population to be portrayed as the best religious and political alternative to the Mozambican government and be seen as a legitimate entity. No, they are trying to legitimize themselves according to Islam, and Islam legitimizes what they are doing. That is what they are trying to do. So propaganda is not what I will call it. The truth is what I will call it. The truth according to Islam, of course. Of course, if it's the truth according to Islam, then it's just lies, obviously. So this is what we have in Mozambique. Now, finally, we come to Nigeria. And this live stream will have just been about Nigeria. But I had to put all these other things in so that you guys can, All right, let's get to the country that I love to talk about, where my passion is going to be on the rise. No more dull voice, no more just talking and just reporting, but giving you my, my opinion. And I'm about to do that. Are you ready? If you are ready to hear about Nigeria, can I see the Nigerian flag in the live chat? Chat, please flood it with Nigerian flag. Let me see the flag of Nigeria. Let's talk about Nigeria. Woo, woo, woo. I need to have like a soundboard where we do something like celebrate whenever I'm about to talk about Nigeria. I think we need to have something like that. What do you think? Guys, please, I also want to see like the love in the live chat just flowing. I want to see that love button being smashed. 55 of us, smash the like button, okay? Smash that like button. Destroy it. We're about to talk more about Nigeria, okay? Of course, what I just did with regards to Mozambique and Sudan is like an introductory or kind of like a brief overview of what is happening in those parts of the world. If we really want to do a deep dive, it will need a standalone live stream that I would love to do in the future, but right now my attention is just on Nigeria. I want to see that flag, the flag of Nigeria. That is not the Nigerian flag. What is this? What is this? Is this? Are you playing with me? Don't play with me, okay? I want to see that Nigerian flag. Come on. Give me that Nigerian flag in the live chat. Let's have it. Okay? In case you're wondering what the flag of Nigeria looks like, here it is. Nigerian flag. This is what it looks like. Okay? It's the green, white, green, ladies and gentlemen. The green, white, green. The green, white, and green. Okay? The flag of greatness. The flag of the... the flag of greatness, okay? The green, white, green. Anyways, where do we begin with Nigeria? All right. Of course, there is a place where we can begin. One thing that the government, the Nigerian government, have been releasing so many statements after Trump's threat of invasion. They have been releasing so many statements. These people are releasing statements like it's their hobby. There was somebody who made a post on Twitter. He said, if you're a graphic designer and you are working for the government, you'll be working overtime right now because they are releasing so many graphic designs talking about what is happening in Nigeria. In fact, here is a tweet from... let me just show you this on Twitter. Let me just show you this from Twitter so you understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. So here is Twitter, right? Let's search for this person, Daniel Bwala. So this is Daniel Bwala. Yeah, I like this creative way of portraying that is the flag of greatness. So this is DH Bwala, and this is his Twitter handle, right? You can see that he's appearing everywhere. Here he is on BBC's BBC World Service. Here he is at South African Broadcasting Corporation, and you can see, look at graphics like this is what I'm talking about. You see, here he is like posting graphics like this, saying the Nigeria welcomes the United States help against terrorism and rejects military threats over alleged Christian killings. Okay. And you can see he's just posting headlines that he has been making. Here he is releasing another statement. Here he is posting something from CNN where he spoke. So you can see here's another graphic from him. And he tagged it, "We are telling our story." So you can see. So if you're a graphic designer in Nigeria, okay, Bwala needs your assistance because they are not putting this out as fast enough as possible, okay? To counter the narrative, they really need to be working overtime in the media department, okay? They need to be putting out media like this, like flyers like this, online flyers like this need to be going out as quickly as possible. I mean, there is another one from the Nigeria. We'll still come back to this Twitter handle, but here is another one from the Nigerian presidency. This is another Twitter account of the Nigerian government. Another Twitter account of the Nigerian government. It's called Presidency Nigeria, not Nigerian Presidency. Presidency Nigeria. And this was, you can see, this is what I... Okay, this one has nothing to do with... you can see they're just posting from various people, but I want to see, I want to see the ones that have to do with the, with the insurgent, with the genocide. Will I call it brouhaha at this point? Anyways, so here's another graphic. This is Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president, shaking hands with Bishop Ignatius of the Archbishop of Abuja's Catholic Diocese. That's the Catholic Diocese in the Federal Capital Territory. You can see what the graphic designers are doing. They are really working overtime. They are doing the best that they can. Where is another one? There's one that I'm looking. Oh, yes, the one. This is the one. This is the one from. I mean, look at these graphics. This is what the Nigerian government is wasting their time on. Is attacking just. Attacking terrorists is not their prerogative. What they are interested in is releasing graphics like this. You can see these graphics. Now they have like a Catholic priest in front, and then they have others at the back, and they're like, the faith by the numbers, the true story of Nigeria's diversity. Interesting stuff here. Over 99% of Nigerians identify with a religion, one of the most faithful nations on earth. Yeah, great. Okay. What else? 227 million citizens. You don't even know how many citizens you really have. 300 million citizens projected for 2025. There is the freedom of religion is guaranteed by law. Section 38 of the Nigerian Constitution protects every citizen's right to belief and worship. Yeah. Except when it has to do with blasphemy. Okay? That is what we are talking about. Except when it has to do with, yeah, you have the right to worship, but when you tell somebody in the north that you cannot erect a, anyways, they know the lie that they are telling. I don't need to waste my time always constantly trying to show that they are lying. If you're somebody who watch this channel, you know that they are lying, and you know how I have been able to demonstrate repeatedly that these people are lying. So let me not waste my time. You know, this is it. If I look at how ridiculous these people are, like freedom of religion is guaranteed by law, and then they have the cross, and then they have the Star of David. As if we have Jews in this country. And then they have the Star of David. And then they have, like, I don't know if this is Hinduism or something. They have every symbol they could gather. And they're like, yeah, I mean, their graphic designer is really doing a lot. It's doing a lot. Then the next graphics. Over 120 interfaith peace-building organizations operate across the country. Dialogue, not division, divides our democracy. Oh, look at how they're like, oh, our democracy is defined by dialogue, not division. As if dialogue is the opposite of division. As if you cannot be dialoguing and still be divided, which is the case in Nigeria, a very divided nation. I've been divided for a very long time, and the division is only, worsening as the day goes by. Different faith, one nation, one destiny. Alhamdulillah. So yeah, that's the graphic we get from the Nigerian government. Let's go back to Boala and some of the things he has been saying in the media and the media rounds he has been making, because that's where we want to start our story from. So here he is on CNN. This is what he has to say when he went to CNN.
Beyond the way the president presents them. We've also heard from the advisor to the president of Nigeria, who said, look, we don't take what the president is saying at face value. We sort of see it as he's done with other situations around the world as a sort of an opening statement that may lead to a conversation with other Nigerian officials. And he said bluntly, we'd welcome support from the United States as long as it respects the sovereignty, territorial integrity of our country. He said we would like better fighter aircraft to combat these Islamist groups, better drones, better equipment. He said we have the troops. What we need better is support, military equipment support from the United States. I think at that level, what the president is stating as a cause is being taken down, and how it's being reflected back by the government in Nigeria is, yes, there's an issue of people being killed in our country. We'd like some help. Can you do it?
Yeah, they're going to help you, but I don't think that help should come by giving you military equipment that will end up in the hands of Boko Haram. Imagine if in the future you hear Boko Haram carried out an attack. Let's say they carried out a drone strike, and the drone that was used was a drone manufactured in the United States. That is not something that the United States will want. Why would they give you sophisticated weaponry when you are going to hand it over to terrorists? And you'll be like, oh, we don't do that, really? Please.
How the report or notion that there is a Christian persecution. Of course,
we know what Boala is going to say, of course. This so-called persecution is not happening. It's not real.
Or genocide in Nigeria is false. False both from the premise and...
All right, let us see him give us another reason why it is false. We've had so many reasons from him, but he's going to give us a fresh one, fresh reason for why it is false. So let's pay attention. Let's pay attention to his new reasoning.
The conclusion. It is not supported by data. All the report we have so far seen, from assessment from USIP, assessment from Amnesty International, from European Union, have all attested to the fact that...
Do you notice something? He mentioned ISIP, European Union, Amnesty International. And every organization he's citing are international organizations. So the Nigerian government does not have its own record of what is going on. In your own country, the number of killings, how many people have died, what is actually going on. You don't have your own record. You cannot even cite your own record because you don't have it. So you are relying on the record of other organizations. Shamelessly doing so. But fine, maybe you are trying to appeal to the international community. So that's why you are citing international records. So what does this record tell us?
That there were serious cases of killing, but that from 2022, 23 down to 2025, there have been marked improvement. In fact, there is a decline in the rate of killings. So it is intriguing.
What he does not mention is that, yes, the reports say that there is a decline in the number of killings, but there is no decline. In fact, there is an increase in the number of casualties. We talked about it one time when we did a live stream talking about this. Yes, there is a decline in the number of killings, but there's an increase in the number of casualties. And that is not based on what is happening with the Fulani militants. That's not the Fulani. That is not with regards to the killing from the Fulani militants. That is with regards to the killing from Boko Haram, ISWAP, and Ansaru. That is what this report is talking about. That Boko Haram is no longer carrying as much activities as it used to do prior to 2023. That from 2023 to 2025, yes, there has been a reduction in their attacks, but there has been an increase in the casualties from their attacks. This does not take into account Fulani headsmen. That's what he does not say about these reports that he's citing. But what has this got to do with the claim of genocide? How does that refute the claim? It doesn't.
And surprising for us how an old report is being used for this type of thing. But we're all about solution. And because we know America is a partner and they've been very helpful, we see it that it is probably a clarion call for us to have a sit down and then discuss how we can forge a common front in this fight against insurgency. We're willing, anytime, any day. I personally have a feeling that in the next couple of days, they are going to have a sit down together, and then we will find a common front.
It's when you get the first drone strike, you know that Trump is not playing with you people. But let's not continue to deceive ourselves, because that's one thing that politicians know how to do very well in this country. And here he is speaking in South African Broadcasting Corporation. Oh, my goodness.
Well, let's speak further then about this with Dr. Daniel Bwala, who is an advisor to the Nigerian president. A very good evening to you, sir. Welcome to SABC News. So, President Trump speaking to media aboard Air Force One, even after the President Tinubu issued a statement saying that Nigeria is not a country where there's persecution of Christians. Trump remains open to the possibility of military action, etc., in Nigeria. Where does that leave your government?
Well, thank you for having me. We recognize the passion and the zeal that President Donald Trump has demonstrated wanting to help Nigeria. And we welcome that as long as that respects our territorial integrity. And what we welcome in this collaboration is Americans know that we need.
Bwala, maybe you don't understand. I think you do, but of course, pretend like you don't understand anyway. It's good. America, when America wants to, if America is going to do what Trump said that they are going to do, your territorial integrity and you welcoming them is irrelevant. That is, it doesn't matter whether you welcome them with open arms or not. When an attack was carried out in Pakistan to kill Osama bin Laden, the United States did not call Pakistani government and say, oh, please, did you give us permission to go into your territory and kill Osama bin Laden? That did not happen, okay? When they went into Libya, they did not call Gaddafi and say, oh, can you grant us permission so that we can go into your country and do what we want to do? That did not happen. When the 3 nuclear facilities in Iran were destroyed and bombed, Trump did not call Ayatollah Khomeini and was like, oh, do you think I should go in? Should I go in now? Okay? That is not how it works. The United States, oh, you can do it as long as you respect our territorial sovereignty. Please. When has the United States, if the United States is going to do what Trump, if the United States Army will do what Trump has said they would do, they are not going to ask for your written or spoken permission. They don't need it. So, but please, by all means, keep telling us about how it is welcomed as long as they do it the way you are going to. You know how stupid the Nigerian government is sounding. It's like, we are going to dictate the terms of how you are going to help us. If you want to help us, this is how you should do it. Even though you have been, that is what the US. This is something that is interesting to note. The US has been helping. The US has been helping. Okay? I've said it in past years. The US has sent as much as $1 billion in aid to Nigeria. A huge chunk of it has been military aid to Nigeria. They sell weapons to Nigeria. All of that has led to nothing. Nothing has come off of that. Nothing. And they're like, oh yeah, we still need you to give us more. Give us more, we'll do something. Now, if you give us more fighter jets, if you give us more, whatever, if you give us more drones, and if you give us all the things that we need, now we are going to go in there and Boko Haram will be a thing of the past. You want the United States to give you their weapons, so you use it to oppress your own people. When you are saying that you're a country of particular concern, it's like you don't know what's going on.
High-tech fighter jets, we need high-tech equipment, we need high-tech machinery for the purposes of curtailing and destroying this Boko Haram. But the idea of coming militarily into our soil would violate international order, would violate international convention, and it would not be good, because Nigeria is not a hostile country. Nigeria is a partner with the American government in many respects. We have shared destiny, we have shared interests in democracy, promoting the rule of law.
All right, enough. I think I've had enough. Next, what does Boala have to say? What is new? What is new? Let's hear what is new that he has.
I want to say that as a country, we were quite shocked by the allegation, because the allegation...
No, as a government. Say as a government. We are not, shocked. Shocked by the allegation, no. We are not shocked. We were not shocked by the allegation. Boala, you were not shocked by the allegation. The person you worked for made that allegation in 2014. The person you work for, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, made that accusation. That accusation that is shocking you. The person you worked for made that accusation in the past. And every other person that is now currently in the current administration or a puppet of the current administration have made that accusation in the past. We are shocked. You can always see there's no truth. Whenever he opens his mouth, it's just lies. And that is from Boala, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's move over to another liar. Here is one that I didn't see a video of, but I saw a report about it from the same Boala. This is one of his many lies that he has been telling people. According to him, he said IPOB, that's the Independent People of Biafra, mobilizes members for mass protests in Washington, D.C. to stop Tinubu's delegation coming to polish Nigeria's image. This is a report that I saw. I don't know how true this is, but it has been reported that the delegation from Tinubu's government that is coming to the United States to talk with the current administration, that the Independent People of Biafra is mobilizing members to, organize a mass protest in Washington, D.C. to stop them. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, that is being reported. And I don't know if we just watched this one, but it is on the list too. I think we've watched this one, right? We've watched this one, but
was how the report or notion that...
Yeah, we've watched this one, but this is, I didn't read, when we were watching it, I didn't read the caption. This is the caption. It said, the Christian genocide claim is a hoax amplified by the Independent People of Biafra and ignorantly propagated by religious leaders. So he's saying this is a hoax, it's a lie, it's fabrication, amplified by IPOB. I mean, just keep lying, I guess. Just keep lying and keep lying and keep lying. Repeat a lie long enough, it's probably going to become the truth. It's kind of the approach that Boala, who represents the Nigerian government, is doing. And here he is saying, of course, which we saw earlier, the US cannot launch military action in Nigeria without federal government approval. They cannot, or they should not. Which one is it? You think they cannot launch military action in Nigeria without your approval? You must be a comedian, a very big comedian for that matter, to think that you must be you are not a serious person if you think that. You're really not a serious person. It's like you don't know what's up. If you don't want that to happen, if you don't want the threat from Donald Trump to happen, the best thing for you to do is to start fixing the problem. But of course, you are medically incapable. You are medically incapable of doing that. Like you are physically incapable of doing it. So that's why you resort to lying, because that's the only thing you can do. And I think here is somebody who explained it properly. You know, I saw this tweet that tried to explain to Bwala and his and those who think like him. Oh, the US cannot come into Nigeria without permission from the federal government. It is not done. It cannot happen. So here is a tweet that kind of explains why that is ridiculous. It's a ridiculous statement. And this is from I think our favorite online doctor. He's reacting to this headline. The US cannot launch military action in Nigeria without federal government approval. And then this person reacted by saying, when I read things like this, I just laugh. In 2011, after 10 years of hunting for Osama bin Laden, the US government located him in a compound in Pakistan. Obama authorized American special forces to enter Pakistan and kill Osama without the invitation, consent, or authorization of the Pakistani authorities. In 1998, Bill Clinton ordered cruise missiles launched at a pharmaceutical factory in Sudan, which was believed to be producing chemical weapons for Al-Qaeda. This was without Sudanese government's authorization. In 2011, the same Obama once again led NATO military airstrike on Libya without explicit congressional authorization, arguing that the USA had a responsibility to defend Libya from Muammar Gaddafi's authoritarian atrocities. This is how Gaddafi was assassinated. In 2020, Donald Trump authorized the killing of Qasem Soleimani. The United States did not get any authorization from the Iraqi government, the host nation, before launching the drone strike that killed Qasem Soleimani at the Baghdad International Airport. Iraqi Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi called it assassination and a massive breach of Iraqi sovereignty. But did America care? No. Please, let us all just pray that America doesn't decide they truly want to take military action against terrorist sympathizers and the political/financial sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria. Because if they do, confident idiots like Bwala and their rotten political party of propagandist cretins who think America will be asking them for permission will receive the rudest shock of their lives. So yeah, that is a better way to put it. I could not put it in a more better way. That is exactly what is going to happen. If you think, oh, they are going to ask for written permission. Please, should we come? They are going to beg you, please grant us permission. Then you must be very ridiculous. This is why I think the Nigerian government is not serious. Like, they are really not serious in the way they talk about this. They show no form of seriousness whatsoever. Here is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Tuga. And I call him Tuga the liar. But here he is at, I think, a conference or whatever in somewhere in the Middle East. And, no, not in the Middle East, in Berlin, rather. And this is what he has to say about religious freedom in Nigeria.
Nigeria's constitutional commitment to religious freedom and rule of law. All the answers are in there. And this is what guides us. And this is what shows that it's impossible for there to be a religious persecution that can be supported in any way, shape, or form by the government of Nigeria at any level, be it federal, be it regional, be it local. It's impossible.
Now, this is the talk of a very unserious person. Let me not say stupid person, a very unserious person. The government of Nigeria are very unserious. And I want Trump to really show them that he's not bluffing, because these people are very unserious. Why do I say they are very unserious? It's we have in our constitution that it is written that the freedom is like, what analogy can I use to explain just how ridiculous what he just said is? There are 12 states in Nigeria that operate Sharia law. Okay? There are states in Nigeria that have Hizbah police in the northern part of the country, where during Ramadan, they declare that nobody should eat in the public. This is state police or state law enforcement that is enforcing these laws, saying you shouldn't eat in public during Ramadan. There are Hizbah police have gone to businesses that sell beverages and seized the alcohol in their store and destroy them. And you're talking about freedom of religion. Like this has ever stopped anybody. Of course it hasn't. Okay? Hizbah police will go on and do so many of these things. And then you have Christians who have been arrested, killed, sentenced to death. Sometimes you have non-Muslims or even Muslims from a different set who have been subjected to the death penalty for saying things that Sunni Muslims in northern Nigeria consider blasphemous. We talked about so many of them in the last live stream. And these are like state-enforced laws. There is currently now a musician whose case is in the Supreme Court who was sentenced to death for blasphemy. And I don't know if these people are aware. I don't know if people like Tuga is aware that the United States is aware of this case and so many of these cases. They know the 12 states that are enforcing Sharia law. As a matter of fact, it has been reported, which we will look at the report as we move forward. It has been reported that the United States is ready to release sanction on the governors of those 12 states. And you're here talking about, look at this report. It shows just how there can be no religious, that religious freedom is safeguarded in the Constitution. The same Constitution that recognizes Sharia law, that same Constitution is talking about religious freedom. How can you recognize Sharia law and religious freedom in the same Constitution? One cancels out the other, because under Sharia law, there is always going to be restriction on religious freedom. There always will be. No matter how temperate your enforcement of Sharia law is. And in northern Nigeria, it's not even that temperate, because blasphemy is something that the average Muslim in the north sees as sacrosanct importance for peace and prosperity in the north. We have to have blasphemy law, and not blasphemy law if you're going to spend five weeks in prison for saying something that hurts the feelings of an average, ridiculous, poor, pathetic, useless Muslim in the north. No, that's not the Sharia law we are talking about. We're talking of Sharia law of death sentence. Death sentence is what they want. Death sentence is what they are asking for. How can you still talk of religious freedom? What if it is my religious, it is incumbent on me religiously, by virtue of the religion that I believe in, to say that Muhammad is a false prophet? Because according to Christianity, by every measure, in Christian theology, by every measure, Muhammad is a false prophet. If I say that, is that blasphemy? Can I be allowed to say that because my religion tells me that is true? Can I say that in northern Nigeria and not be arrested and prosecuted for blasphemy and found guilty and sentenced to death? That is if they follow the legal process, because before that will even happen, a mob is going to, take a hold of me and my head will be on a pike. And you are there, oh, look at this document. He explained why Deborah Yakubu should not have happened. And he explains why the people who killed her and set her on fire, why they are still free. Look I have this document. It's going to explain it to you. Very stupid people. And you think, who do you think you're trying to convince? Any person who believes the lies that you people are telling are people who want to be lied to. Maybe people in these places that you are going to are telling you, give us a reason to believe your lies. Just tell us one lie that we should repeat. Because no sensible person is falling for this. None. And then we have Pastor Wale Adefarasi. I didn't talk about him in the last live stream because I was tired. But now I'm not tired, so I will not be insulting anybody. But this is Pastor Wale Adefarasi. He's the pastor of a very popular church in Nigeria. They usually hold this like Christian concert every December. It's called The Experience. So this is... He's the pastor of the Guiding Light Assembly, okay, and he's the senior shepherd of the Guiding Light Assembly, Pastor Wale Adefarasi, and this is what Pastor Wale Adefarasi had to say.
About one of the raging challenges that is facing our nation at this time. For the over 40 years that I have been a Christian. There have been killings in southern Kaduna, killings on the plateau. There have been riots. Sometimes, I think it was in France, an image of Prophet Muhammad was defaced. Who remembers that? And as a result of that, there were killings of Christians in Nigeria.
Yeah, imagine that. He's recognizing that there was the issue of the Charlie Hebdo that happened in France. And because of that, Muslims in Nigeria went out and were killing Christians in retaliation for something that happened that an atheist publication did in France. He's recognizing that, yeah, that happened. But listen to the next nonsense that came out of his mouth.
And so it's nothing new.
It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Pastor Wale Adefarasi, with all due respect, it's nothing new, eh? It's nothing new. It's because it's not your side that this thing is happening in. Some people are heartless. Some people have no ability to empathize. And you are a believer. The condition of your average Christian around the world, even in the city, there's people that share the same country with you. Your response to what they are going through is nothing new. Your response to what they are going through is nothing new. And you are saying it in your church. It's not like it's even a political rally that you are spewing this. In your church, your congregation, your members are looking at you, you are saying this. People attend his church. There are people who go there every Sunday, sit down there, and they are hearing this man say this. It's nothing new. You see, I usually read, recently I was reading the New Testament, like the Gospels, the 4 Gospels. I was reading them, in chronological order. Because I have this 1-year Bible plan that allows you to read the Bible in chronological order. So I was reading the Gospels, and of course, you get to that part where Jesus said, I think I read it recently, where Jesus said, on the last day, he's going to separate the sheep from the goat. And then he's going to say to the sheep, come to my rest. You have been good and faithful servant, come to my rest. I was poor and you fed me. I was poor and you met my need. Hungry, you fed me. In prison, naked, you clothed me. In prison, and you visited me. And that these people are going to ask, Master, when did we see you hungry and fed you? Where did we see you naked and clothed you? Where did we see you in prison and visited you? He said, as much as you did it to the least of my brethren, you did it unto me. And then he's going to say to the goats on the other side that, you guys are horrible, right? You'll be cast into outer darkness because I was hungry and you did not feed me. I was naked and you did not clothe me. I was in prison and you did not visit me. And then they are going to ask him, Lord, when did any of these things happen? And you say, as long as you didn't do it to the least of this my brethren, of this your brethren, you did not do it to me. And I'm looking at Wale Adefarasi and I'm like, this is how on the last day God is going to separate the sheep from the goat. Because you have Christians that are going through hell in this country. You did not even speak up for them. You did not talk about them. You did nothing. But when it was an opportunity to speak for them, to recognize that look, as a believer, for you, Christian life, the life of a Christian matters. I want us to speak for every group, and we should, but especially for Christians. Okay, Paul will say, show liberality, show love to everyone, especially those of the household of faith, those who are Christians, especially them. Everybody should receive your love, but there should be special one you have for your fellow believers. So yes, they are killing everybody. We should talk about everybody, but especially Christians. We are Christians. We should talk about especially Christians. But this pastor, with his years of wisdom, you can see his beards. They are white. 40 years he has been a believer in this country. 40 years Christians have been killed. 40 years he has been silent. And now that there is an opportunity to speak up, his statement is, this is nothing new. And why did he say this is nothing new? Because he wants to defend the current administration. Yes, let's just see it so you understand why I'm upset.
It doesn't amount to genocide.
Yeah.
The way the West...
That's what he said. It doesn't amount to genocide. It is nothing new. It doesn't amount to genocide. Let's listen to him say it again.
Nothing new.
Let's take it back.
And so it's nothing new. It doesn't amount to genocide.
Do you hear him? This is nothing new. It doesn't amount to genocide. And then here's the next statement that he said.
The way the West are talking about it, it's as if a Christian steps on the street, his head will be blown off.
Let me not insult God's servant. Let me respect pastors. I've been told in church to always do that, so I will try my best, okay? Everybody watching me, even though I may not do it, but realize that I'm trying my best. I am trying. It is not the West that said that there is a genocide in Nigeria. The current president of Nigeria said at one point that there are killing of Christians in Nigeria. Bishop Coker, before he was appointed vice chancellor of whatever university, said that there is a genocide in Nigeria. Priests, Catholic priests, have gone to the United States to give testimony before Congress that there is a genocide of Christians in Nigeria. It has been said multiple times in the past. The Christian Association of Nigeria did not say it today. It was said in the past that there is a genocide and persecution of Christians in Nigeria. It is not the West that is talking about it like it's a genocide. I know your church is in Lagos. We know. Everybody knows where it is located in. And that is why you think, oh, it is safe. It's not like if you go outside, you go and plant your church in Southern Kaduna and ask your members when they go outside if they feel safe. I've spoken to, you know what is annoying to me? I have spoken to people who live in this area, this region. I've spoken to a couple of them. And they tell me, especially like the friend of mine that I had from Bauchi, she said that the mentality we have in Bauchi is it can happen any day. Even though her community in Bauchi have experienced relative peace for quite a while now, going to 10 years. You know, prior to that, they used to have attacks, but they've had like relative peace. But she said that one thing that we always know is it can happen any day. So you have to be on guard. She said her church in Bauchi takes offering for like when you take normal offering for, we want to give offering for this, offering for that. They take offering for buying weapons and hiring security. They take security offering. Paul Adefarasi, your church in Lagos have never taken security offering. You don't know what it is like. To dismiss what people are going through, it's just like if you don't have anything good to say, you know, even the scripture said that a fool, when he keeps quiet, he is considered wise. I'm not saying you are a fool, sir. I'm not saying you are a fool. By no means. I'm just saying that that's what the Bible said. I'm just quoting scriptures, okay?
And I'm trying to understand this sudden love for Christians.
What sudden love? You see, many of the Westerners that are talking about this and have been talking about this for years. That you have not been paying attention. It's to your shame. Sir, with all due respect, it is to your shame that you have Westerners that have been talking about this for years and you have not. It is to your shame. It is to your shame. It should make you ashamed of yourself as a Nigerian Christian. That Westerners, Western Christians, Western Christian organizations that are operating in Nigeria are the ones taking this matter very seriously. It is to your shame. It is to your shame that they are the ones that are looking for ways to curb this problem, to deal with it, to arrest it. It is to your shame. You shouldn't say it and shamelessly stand on your pulpit and tell your congregation that there is this sudden love. It is to your shame. When did this shamelessness is so outrageous. It is so outrageous. It is so outrageous. And it is heartbreaking to me. It really breaks my heart. Because you are a Christian, sir. There are many people who look up to you. You are a notorious, not notorious, you are a reputable pastor. You have a large congregation in Lagos. You hold the experience. You bring Kirk Franklin and Lecrae from the United States to come and sing on your Christian concerts every year. The other time you bring Domon, you bring this other person, you bring all these people, you bring artists even across Nigeria. And in every year this has been happening for the past 15 years. Christians have been dying in northern Nigeria, and not once in any of your concerts do you say, let's have a moment of silence for these Christians. Last year, December, on Christmas Eve, when Christians were killed in Benue State, your church did not release any statement. Even when you held the experience, you didn't even say, let's take a moment to talk about them. To a moment of silence, or let's pray for them in this concert. Let's use this opportunity to pray for the Christians who are suffering. You've never done it in any of your concerts. This is the kind of thing that when you realize the kind of attention this is getting now, you should be like, why have I not been talking about this? Why have I, a Christian, a pastor that has clout in this country, why have I not brought this matter up? Why is it that this thing is getting international recognition because of Biuma, not me? That is what it should be. That is what should be on your mind. That is the kind.
Is it because we now have one of the largest refineries in the world and no longer have to ship raw materials abroad and bring the finished products? Or is it because of the 21st century minerals that we now have in our earth that are used to generate nuclear power for electric vehicles? Are those the reasons that our friends are threatening to invade our country to defend and protect Nigerian Christians? Selah.
And his congregation clapped. And his congregation clapped. His congregation. We are clapping. Hey. Yeah. It's so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. It is so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate. This is what we are dealing with in this country. This is what we are dealing with in this country. This is the kind of shepherd that some people have subjected themselves to. Thankfully, I'm not one of them. These are other, it's interesting when Wale Adefarasi is sounding like Abdullahi on Twitter. Nigeria has lithium deposits in Nasarawa, Kogi, Kwara, Ekiti, and Cross River State that is worth $34 billion. Lithium is used in producing battery for mobile phones, laptops, digital cameras, and electric vehicles. Nigeria also have gold deposits in 17 states, including Zamfara. We need to also mention that Nigeria has 42 billion tons of bitumen, which makes us the country with the 6th largest bitumen deposit in the world and with the best in terms of quality. Ondo State is home to these precious minerals. We all know that we've been living on crude, and when we grounded our public refineries, foreign petroleum refiners, we are making billions from our economic foolishness. America was not angry, even when churches and mosques were attacked back to back by Boko Haram. They were not. They were not. You liar. They were not. Americans were not. Fast forward, it's a few years later, Aliko Dangote built his private refinery and is expanding to 1.4 billion barrels per day. Yeah, and this is so ridiculous when you think about it, because 50% of the crude that Aliko Dangote's refinery is processing is bought from the United States. He doesn't mention that. Anyway, fine. A few days later, President Tinubu slaps a 15% tariff on imported fuel, and then the United States and Donald Trump suddenly wakes up and is now ready to defend Nigerian Christians, even when it is no longer safe to attend churches in his own country. Really, it is no longer safe to attend churches in the United States. I didn't know that. Wow, you are sick if you don't see what's coming. Igbo IPOB obedience are very... This is Nigerian level propaganda. Everything written here is so ridiculous. Here's one thing that I want to ask this person. With your 34 billion worth of lithium, how come you still owe China 50 billion US dollars? And how come your government just took a loan of 1 billion from the IMF and they're asking for more loan of 1 trillion naira? 1 trillion naira is what is there? Is another loan that Tinubu wants to take, despite the fact that you have 34 billion dollars worth of lithium. Why are you not taking that $34 billion worth of lithium and selling it so that you can pay off your debts and do everything you need to do with money? You know, and the gold deposit in Zamfara, Kaduna, Oshun, Ondo, Niger, Kogi, and every state. In fact, all the states in Nigeria have gold deposit at this point. All those gold deposits. Why don't your government take it and sell it so that they can pay off their debt? Every day they are asking for debts. They are like somebody with a gambling addiction. At this point, very, very stupid people. Very stupid people. Let me recognize some super chats before we move on. I think there are some that I have not recognized. Let me use this opportunity to recognize those before we move on. Can't see them anymore. What happened? Have I recognized them already? Give me a second. Okay, I want to recognize from Isaiah True One. Great job in shining light with these issues. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, guys, please keep bringing the super chats. Let them keep coming in. Let them keep coming in, okay? Bring on the super chats, okay? The more the merrier. And also go to buymeacoffee.com/NIG Perspective. It's on the screen. Go there and support the channel. And keep smashing that like button. Keep doing that, especially the ones in the live chat. Just keep smashing that like button. Isaiah True One said, all these pastors are just shameful. Not to speak the truth. Yes. Shamelessness is the Greenneck said Africa must move past tribalism to nationalism. That will be the day. Okay, when that happened, that will be the day. That will be the day. Anyways, I wanted to listen to. There's someone else who wants Donald Trump to hear what he has to say. In fact, you need to see people that are now advising President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's now getting new advisors, like this guy, Bello Tuji. He has something to tell. According to this guy, his name is Bello Tuji. And this is what he said. He said this on a radio station in Hausa in Nigeria. And he said, and he's a bandit kingpin. So this is a notorious bandit kingpin. You can see him, with the belt of bullets on his shoulder. You can see that this person is a bandit. Okay, this is when they talk about bandits. That is this person over here. Okay, he's a bandit, and he has called on President Tinubu to grant him permission to travel to the United States in order to show President Trump and the world the strength of Nigeria. Can you imagine? The government that is on the matter, we are on the situation. Here is a bandit kingpin in Nigeria going on a radio station in Nigeria and advising the president of Nigeria to send him to the United States so that he can show President Trump the great power of banditry. What a country. I mean, what a country. What a country. Everybody in Nigeria now is now patriotic. This person said, even terrorist commander Tuji showing patriotism against foreign invasion. Hey, powerful stuff. This is the country that we are in right now. This is what we are dealing with. Meanwhile, the stock market, for those who are wondering, what is the effect of what is happening? Well, here is the effect on the stock market. According to Arise TV, Nigerian stocks lose 246 billion naira after Trump labeled Nigeria a country of particular concern. The Nigerian stock market lost 246 billion naira on Monday as investors traded cautiously following U.S. President Donald Trump's designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged widespread killing of Christians, rising religious intolerance, and his further threat of military action if the government failed to curb the violence. Another thing you need to know is that Chad, our neighbor to the north, have closed their border. And also embassies in Niger and Chad are also like being cautious. So there's a likelihood that something is about to happen. I'll just put that out there. Maybe something is about to happen, maybe it is not. But you can see the caution with which everyone is just treading when it has to do with Nigeria. And why some people are denying, like why we've seen other people who are denying what is happening, we have other people in the country who are not denying it, which is why when people say this is a lie from the West, I'm like, really, is this a lie from the West? When you have people in this country, inside this country, who are celebrating it. This is it. Declaring Nigeria a country of particular concern is a welcome development, according to the Middle Belt Forum. The Middle Belt Forum, the Middle Belt Forum has hailed the declaration of Nigeria as a country of particular concern, saying it is a welcome development that will help the Nigerian government be on its toes. In a statement on Sunday, the national president for the forum. Now, for those who don't know what the Middle Belt is the region where Fulani herdsmen have been killing people. Like when you talk about Benue State, Kwara State, parts of Kwara State, especially the parts that are being affected, Kogi State, Plateau State, even Abuja and parts of Kaduna. These are parts of the Middle Belt in Nigeria. Okay, these are parts of the Middle Belt in Nigeria. So, and they have a forum. It's called the Middle Belt Forum. And the Middle Belt Forum, the president of the Middle Belt has hailed the Nigeria being declared a country of particular concern, being designated a country of particular concern. They are happy with it. In a statement on Sunday, the national president of the forum regretted that the federal government has failed to use its capacity to stop the killings, describing the remark by the American president as a necessary push for decisive action. He lamented the scale and frequency of attacks, noting that sometimes 100, 200, and even up to 300 people are killed at a time. He described it as unprecedented in Nigeria, adding that it amounts to an indictment of the authorities for allowing violence to persist. The government, to me, is the issue. It is an indictment on our government that the government has the capacity to handle the problem of this country, but has not, he said. Which is what any sensible person should see this as. Sensible person should see this as an indictment on our government, their incompetency, their unwillingness to deal with this problem. That is what is being exposed here. And it should be welcomed that yes, if they want to drop precision, you don't want to carry out precision strikes in Nigeria that will kill these terrorists and liberate the Middle Belt from the reign of terror that they are going through, then the United States should do that. That's what any sensible person would say. But not if you are Wale Adefarasi. I don't know why I keep calling him Paul. Maybe Paul is his middle name. Then you have a statement from CAN. In fact, you have two statements from CAN. That's the Christian Association of Nigeria. Two statements from the Christian Association of Nigeria coming to defend the United States government. Not the Nigerian government, the United States government. And he said, don't twist President Trump's warning. Christian Association CAN says Trump's remark is to fight terrorists, not Nigerians. Rather than viewing Trump's comments as a trigger for religious friction, the association's chairman, Reverend John Joseph Hayab, told the news agency of Nigeria on Tuesday that the remark should serve as an opportunity for peace-loving Christians and Muslims to unite and demand concrete action by our government to stop the killing of anybody because of religion or any form of identity. The Christian Association of Nigeria in the 19 northern states and Abuja have called on Nigerians to rise above outrage and use former U.S. President Donald Trump's statement. Former U.S. President. And use former U.S. President? How is he former U.S. President? And use U.S. President Donald Trump's statement on alleged Christian genocide as a rallying point for unity, understanding, and collective national healing, Rather than viewing Trump's comment as a trigger for religious friction, the association's chairman told news agencies on Tuesday that the remarks should serve as an opportunity for peace-loving Nigerians to come together and all whatnot. His statement comes amid widespread public debate at home and abroad over the why is he called the former U.S. leader? Is this a dig at Donald Trump? What kind of nonsense statement is that? But according to the president of Cannes, a closer read of Trump's words suggests concern rather than condemnation. If you choose to read President Trump's statement with an open mind, you will simply hear the voice of a visitor who cares about you and wants you to do something serious to enjoy peace and unity in your country, he said. The cleric warned against people seeking to weaponize Trump's remark for political or sectarian gain. We should disregard those who are manipulating and twisting what was said to instigate us against one another to divide us further, he cautioned. In a moment of sharp reflection, the president questioned the motive of those interpreting Trump's warning as hostility towards Nigeria. He said if nothing is done, his military will come after the terrorists, not after Nigerians. Or as some of us admitting that they are parts of the terrorists. Very good question. John reiterated that Nigeria's most urgent need is not outrage, but freedom and safety for all. What we want is freedom for all to practice our faith, whether we are Christians, Muslim, or free thinkers, he affirmed. He urged both religious and political leaders to treat this moment as a test of maturity, an opportunity to rebuild trust between faith communities. Trump's comment, he implied, should challenge us to he implied. And then you are putting it in quotes. Who wrote this article? Who is the... Jesus. Sorry, I'm using the last name in vain too much. But who wrote this article? Trump's comment, he implied. And it is being quoted. If it's an implication, why is it quoted? Trump's comment should challenge us to prove that unity, not division, defines who we are as a nation. Well, maybe the person who the president of Cannes is being a bit naive to think that this kind of statement is going to unify an already divided country. But that is not going to be the case. Okay, that is not going to be the case. That's just fact. Anyways, Khan released another statement again, and in this statement, this one is from Khan, and this is from yesterday. They said Muslim terrorists systematically kill Christians in northern Nigeria to perpetuate Islamic ideology, according to the Christian Association of Nigeria. Give me a second. Give me a second. Give me a second. Anyways, sorry. This is another statement from Khan. He said Muslim terrorists systematically kill Christians in northern Nigeria to perpetuate Islamic ideology. This is a statement from the Christian Association of Nigeria. And you can see the president of the Christian Association of Nigeria in northern Nigeria, Reverend John, the same John that we just read a statement from, on Tuesday said Muslim terrorists, in fact, he didn't call them Islamic, Muslim terrorists are systematically killing Christians in the region to perpetuate Islamic ideology. Speaking to People's Gazette on Tuesday, this president said President Donald Trump's recent threat to invade Nigeria to eliminate terrorists allegedly killing Christians was a wake-up call for Nigerian government to tackle what he described as a systematic persecution of Christians in northern Nigeria. Clarifying Mr. Trump's order, that's Pastor John or President John of CAN, said there is nowhere the president of America said he was coming to bomb Nigeria. He said Nigerian government should go after the terrorists. If they do not go, he will send his soldiers to go after the terrorists. And we are not defenders of terrorists? Very good question. The cleric added, "It is not a lie. Terrorists have been tormenting us in Nigeria, especially Christians in northern Nigeria. We have suffered in the hands of terrorists. They have killed our wives, they have killed our children, burnt our churches, destroyed our communities. They have caused us so much pain. If anybody would tell you that they are not killing us, that person is not telling the truth." I hope Wale Adefarasi is hearing this. This terrorist organization in Nigeria, such as Boko Haram, ISWAP, Lakurawa, I've not even heard of this one before. Are they Christian terror groups? No, they are Muslim terror groups. So when they kill, we cry because we know they are promoting an Islamic ideology. They are doing it in the name of Islam. He stated, so the Muslims should come together and tell themselves the terrorists that they are giving them, and tell themselves that the terrorists are giving them a bad name. Tell us that we shouldn't cry. We should not talk that we are being. So the Muslims should come together and tell themselves that the terrorists are giving them a bad name. To tell us that we shouldn't cry, we shouldn't talk we shouldn't talk that we are being killed, is what we don't understand. We are being killed, systematic killing. Okay, so he's saying the Muslims should come out and say these terrorists are giving us a bad name, and not tell Christians that they shouldn't cry. I shouldn't talk about the killings that they are suffering, the systematic killing that is happening. The cleric also dismissed killings in Christian communities labeled as header farmer crisis, explaining that terrorists kill Christians because of their identity and kill Muslims who only Muslims who disagree with them. Who wrote this article? What kind of sentence is this? Every time I find myself fighting with the article writers. Sorry guys, but sometimes I just find myself fighting with people who write these articles. The cleric dismissed killings in Christian communities labeled as header farmer crisis, explaining that terrorists kill Christians because of their identity and kill only Muslims who disagree with them. What sentence is, and kill Muslims who only disagree with them? Who only disagree with them? The only should be before the Muslim is what I'm saying. Anyway, people are competing about numbers of Muslims or Christians. Sir, a terrorist killed me because of my Christian identity. If he kills someone that shares his identity, it is probably because that person does not agree with him. But he's not actually against Islam. He's against Christians. So let's call a spade and find solution. It's time for us to talk truth to ourselves and find solution. The cleric said. The cleric urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to tackle the persecution of Christians, blah, 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 blah. And as you can see, the president of Khan from northern Nigeria is not he's not sugarcoating anything. He's saying it exactly how it is. And I wish we had more pastors like this in Nigeria. Sadly, we don't. Now, here's the news story that I was telling you guys about with regards to sanctioning of 12 Nigerian governors. CPC blacklist. 12 Nigerian governors, other officials may face U.S. sanctions. 12 northern governors, prominent traditional rulers, and senior judges are at the center of a looming diplomatic storm as the United States Congress consider a bill that could impose far-reaching sanctions on them over alleged complicity in what American lawmakers describe as a Christian genocide and systematic persecution under Nigeria's Sharia and blasphemy laws. This follows the designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern by President Donald Trump and his instruction to the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, to act without delay. On Friday, Trump, in a post on Truth Social, lamented that thousands of Christians are being blamed. We know all of that. The bill proposed direct sanctions against public officials and religious authorities accused of promoting or tolerating violence against Christians and other religious minorities. In December 2020, the United States Department of State designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern for the first time ever due to what it termed systematic, ongoing, and egregious violation of religious freedom, violent Boko Haram attacks, and frequent ethno-religious conflict exacerbated by the judicial system. Under the bill introduced on September 9, 2025, the U.S. Secretary of State will, within 90 days of its passage, submit a report to Congress listing Nigeria's officials, including governors, judges, and monarchs who have promoted, enacted, or maintained blasphemy law or tolerated violence by non-state actors invoking religious justification. The sanctions to be implemented under Executive Order 13818, the U.S. government's global human rights accountability framework, could result in visa ban, assets freezes, and financial restriction for those found culpable. One of the highlights of this bill is the implementation of Sharia law in northern Nigeria, which is termed the blasphemy law and believed to be against the Christian population. And so every other thing with regard. So you can see what is being prepared here. So Nigerians should not fall for all they are coming after our resources. No, they are targeting certain officials that have been promoting religious persecution in Nigeria. That is what this is about. Not every other, lie that you see out there. All right, then you have China. China has decided to chime in, ladies and gentlemen. The ambassador, the Chinese embassy in Nigeria, released a statement. Finally, China has decided to protect their investment and their interest in Nigeria. So China has weighed in on the matter. China has weighed in on the matter. On November 4, Foreign Minister spokesperson Mao chaired a regular press conference. Journalists, according to reports, U.S. President, blah, 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 a comprehensive strategy partner. Anyway, let me not just gloss over this. According to reports, U.S. President Donald Trump designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern on October 31st on the grounds that Christian communities are being threatened in Nigeria. The Nigerian Minister of Foreign Affairs issued a statement saying that the U.S. allegation is inconsistent with facts. Nigeria will continue to fight violence, extremism, protect its citizens, respect religious beliefs, diversity and inclusivity, and abide by the rule-based international order. Trump said on November 1st that if the Nigerian government continues to condone the killing of Christians, the U.S. will immediately stop all assistance to blah, blah. Okay, so what's China's comment on this? This is the Chinese comment. A comprehensive strategic partner of Nigeria, China firmly supports the Nigerian government in leading its people to a development path that fits Nigeria's national reality. We oppose any country's interference in other countries' international affairs under the pretext of religion and human rights. We oppose the wanton threat of sanction and use of force. And many Nigerians, stupidly, many Nigerians are giving weight to this statement from China and saying, you see, finally the Chinese government is saying that the Chinese government is saying, and I'm like, yeah, the Chinese government was also against the war in Gaza. And the Chinese government was also against the attack on Iran. And Iran was like a really strategic partner with China. And none of that counted for anything. Okay, first of all, this counts for nothing. And why would they not release statement like this when they are the ones benefiting from the corruption that is in this current time? When Nigerian government is owing them $5 billion, they want their money back. Why would they not be like, yeah, don't interfere? And just so people know this about China, here is a report from Premium Times. Chinese nationals, others, arrested for aiding terrorism in Borno State. This is a report from June 13, 2025, of Chinese nationals that were arrested for aiding terrorism in Borno State. Troops of operation in this place arrested some individuals, including a Chinese national, suspected of aiding terrorism in Borno State. The defense headquarters spokesperson, this guy, revealed this at a press briefing in Abuja on Friday, according to the news agency of Nigeria. The Chinese national have been detained and is undergoing interrogation, he said. He added, when the interrogation is completed, we'll be able to furnish the public with details of why he was there in the first place, how he was arrested, and whether he was the only one there who had accomplices. All of this will unfold after a thorough investigation has been carried out. That is from June of this year. Here is another report of illegal mining activities carried out by Chinese nationals in Nigeria. You know, all this talk about, oh, the United States is after our natural resources. They are after our minerals, our rare earth minerals. Here are the Chinese just taking it. Nigerian mining sector is diverse in mineral resources that makes a significant contribution to the nation's gross domestic product. The country, okay, blah, 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 blah. However, the mining sector is faced with multiple challenges and its current poor, okay. On April 2025, the Nigerian police force in Zamfara arrested 2 Chinese nationals for allegedly engaging in illegal mining in this local government area, where the federal government have banned all mining activities to curb killings by armed bandits. In September 2022, a Chinese national was arrested by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, operative in Ilori, Kwara State, in possession of a truckload of minerals suspected to be this mineral. In July 2023, the EFCC arrested 13 more Chinese nationals for allegedly engaging in illegal mining activities. In August 2023, the Akwa Ibom state government closed down an illegal mining operation carried out by Chinese nationals for the firm's inability to provide authorization documents for titanium ore mining in this community. Over the years, policy inconsistency relating to the extraction sector have created disorder across mining sites and activities. And then blah, 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 blah. More recently, foreign criminals have focused on gold mining in the banditry-affected communities of Nigeria's northwest and central areas. Loose criminal network engage in illegal gold mining, have ties to foreign actors, and facilitate trafficking flow. Most criminal markets for gold in the country are driven by foreign demand, but are propped up by local actors. Foreign criminal network operates similarly to local actors in illegal mining and have pre-positioned their activities in the criminal value chain through direct involvement in illicit gold mining in remote villages and forests. So while people are out there saying, hey, they are trying to take our resources, meanwhile, the Chinese nationals are in this country collaborating with bandits in stealing your natural resources. In March 2022, the Nigerian Immigration Service in Niger State arrested over 200 Chinese workers who had reportedly traveled to Nigeria with tourist visas and continued to stay after their travel permit expired. What were they doing in the country? And you can see so many instances of that happening in the country, happening in Nigeria. And you wonder why China is like, yeah, we do not support whatever the United States is trying to do, because they have something to gain. It's their nationals that are stealing your natural resources. That 34 billion worth of lithium. maybe the person who made that tweet does not know, but that the number 1 producers of electric vehicles in the world is China. Maybe not the number 1, but probably the top. It's definitely at the top. Anyways, let me recognize a couple of super chats and then we'll continue. Or we'll see where we can round up. All right. Super chats recognition coming in 5, 4. Yep. And then we have, I think I've read this one before. We have Anya Omesi. Recognize this one, Frank. Well done. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for putting your money where my mouth is. I really, really appreciate it. All right. What else can we talk about before we move on? Yeah, after the Chinese government, through their embassy in Nigeria, released a statement, Riley Moore also, responded. Riley Moore is the congressman who has been placed in charge of, coming out with solutions to dealing with the problem or with possible sanction solutions to dealing with the Nigerian government and their incompetency and negligence and cooperation and facilitation of terrorism in Nigeria. President Trump is absolutely right to defend our brothers and sisters in Christ who are suffering horrific persecution and even martyrdom for their faith in our Lord Jesus Christ. China will not dictate our foreign policy to us, and we will not be lectured by a communist autocracy that recently arrested 30 Christian pastors for their faith and throws ethnic minorities in concentration camps. You know what I find interesting? And this is why Muslims will always betray one another, because these people are very ridiculous set of individuals. The only people they care about is the enemies of Islam, which is the Jews and the Christians. When it has to do with people like another Muslim dying, it's just fair game for them. Because the Chinese, that many of these Muslims in Nigeria are like, yes, the Chinese government is saying this, and yes, we support what the Chinese government is saying. This Chinese government take Muslims in China and put them in concentration camps. I guess at the end of the day, I mean, we even have a statement from Iran. We even have a statement from Iran. Iran is suddenly no longer interested in the Middle East, I guess. Now they're like, let's chime in on what is happening in Nigeria. Here's a statement from Iran. Iran strongly opposes any military action against Nigeria. That is the headline. And I think this is from Iran Spectator. And he's telling, this is what Iran has to say about what is happening in Nigeria. And when I saw this one, after I saw from China and then I saw from Iran, I was like, what is happening today? All the countries that oppress their minorities, their religious minorities, religious and ethnic religious minorities especially, all the countries that do that are banding up together. Maybe we'll get a statement from North Korea as well. We'll also get a statement from Russia. This is ridiculous. Countries that are guilty of the same offense are coming out to say, oh, we will not stand for this. We do not support it. As if the United States is like, let's listen to what Iran has to say. And here is something that someone said that I think is very interesting. Someone said this online, and I think it's interesting to consider this angle, because many people in Nigeria, when it has to do with this, don't even consider this angle. This is from Adamu B. Gauba, and he said, China backed Nigeria and warned US against internal interference. Some are celebrating this based on myopic mindset. So did China back Afghanistan, China backed Iran, China backed Gaddafi, China backed Assad. Did that stop the US from projecting its national interest in those countries? Most recently, China backed Gaza. Did that stop anything? Of course it did not. In fact, the most important Chinese BRI ally in the world is the Islamic Republic of Iran. China overwhelmingly backs Iran, but that didn't stop the United States from bombing Iranian nuclear facilities right within Iran. The truth is, when it comes to international issues, no country can back you against any other superpower beyond strongly worded press conferences, except, of course, when there are strategic interests threatening the national security of the supporting power. In fact, in Nigeria, most Chinese companies have packed up due to lack of payments from the jobs they have executed for the government. The Chinese government is fully aware of the situation. Therefore, believe such press statement as nothing beyond paper rhetoric at your own peril. Nigeria's foreign policy management of the Tinubu administration is the most laziest I've ever seen in the country, exposing us to even more problems. Nigeria needs to work its way to clean its name. It is very important. As it stands, there is no country, not even our neighbors like Niger, Cameroon, Benin, or Benin Republic, that can come to us in the event of any situation. In fact, Chad even closed their borders against us. We have to work our way out of the mess we created ourselves. Propaganda only ends on the screen of social media users. Exactly. I mean, I couldn't even say it better myself. That is well put. Meanwhile, Matt Walsh has something to say. I will have brought up the comment from Tucker Carlson, but I mean, say let me not anger myself too much. I've been through enough already. But we have a statement from Matt Walsh. He finally has something to say about what is happening in Nigeria. And you will not believe what it is. Trust me. You will not believe what it is. Trump threatened to end aid to Nigeria in response to Christian persecution there. That raises the question: why are we ever giving Nigerian aid to begin with? We spent at least $8 billion on Nigeria since 2015. In what way has the life of any American been improved by that investment? Rhetorical question, of course, I know the answer. So, Matt Walsh reads about this is I remember one time when I was talking about what Matt Walsh was doing with the whole no enemy to the right and all whatnot. And I remember someone said, oh, do you know, it would be great if, Matt Walsh had you on his show to talk about what is happening in Nigeria. He's a Christian and this kind of exposure is what you need, blah, blah, blah. And that imagine if you educate Matt Walsh of what is happening to Christians in Nigeria. And my response was that I don't think he's interested. That I'm not using it. It's not an indictment against him. It's not like I'm saying he's a bad person because he's not interested. I just know that it is not his interest. I have seen the way he moves. I have seen the way he talks. I used to be a very huge fan of his show. So I can tell that he's not interested in any other part of the world other than America, which is fine. I have no problem with it, which is fine. And this is demonstrated in this tweet. He doesn't see, there are Christians that are being persecuted. Over 1,000 Christians have been killed by radical Islamists. And he's not like, wow, this is outrageous. My heart goes out to these Christians. No, all he sees is, hey, wait, we were sending $8 billion to Nigeria in aid since 2015. Why is that? Why don't we just stop aid in general to every country? America first. I have no problem with that. I'm just using this to point out that it's so interesting when I see Christians in the West that maybe they do it in private, but in public, you rarely see them. You rarely see them show solidarity for other Christians around the world. They rarely do that. It's not one of their issues. The only time Matt Walsh saw Africa of great importance was when he wanted to use Kenyans to... anytime I think about that thing, it breaks my heart. When Matt Walsh realized that there was a continent called Africa was when he wanted to do his documentary, What is a Woman? If he hears tomorrow that village that he went to was attacked and those people he spoke to were killed by radical Islamists, Matt Walsh will not say anything about it. I guarantee it. And it's fine. To each his own at the end of the day. Whatever everybody wants to do, they can go ahead and do. But moving on. Then we have... do I want to read Daniel Akikachu's... I'll stop here. I'll stop here for now. I have many more things that I want to go through, but I'll stop here for now. Before we end, I want to recognize this super chatter. Thank you very much. He said, you're bold and courageous. Your bold and courageous reporting is brilliant. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyways, thank you all for coming to my TED Talk, my live stream, where I rant nonstop about everything and anything, and where you guys just listen to me go on and on and on and on and on. My next live stream, I'll be talking about, hopefully, let me not say it with certainty, but hopefully my next live stream, I'll be talking about in my next live stream, I'll be talking about Ben Shapiro's episode on Tucker Carlson. At least even Ben Shapiro has recognized what is happening. No, you know what? Let me not go down that path. Let's just find a way to wrap up this show. I don't know. I just feel bad after reading that Matt Walsh tweet. It's so unfortunate. If you're a Christian, don't be like that. I just want to say that. Don't be like that. Don't be that Christian that is not concerned, that is not global. You are called, as a Christian, you are called to recognize the body of Christ international, the body of Christ worldwide. Your heart should beat for these people across the world. People are dying. Christians are dying, and it doesn't bother you. You know. Maybe it bothers him in private, you know. I'm not his close friend. So tomorrow he might release a telling you guys about how he thinks about it in private. Anyways, I just want to say, don't be that kind of Christian. If God has given you a platform as a believer, use it to talk about what Christians are going through. If you get the chance, whenever you get the chance. If you are ever going to talk about it, like, use it to talk about that. Don't be that Christian that is just, I'm just going to focus on this issue and only this issue. Imagine Nicki Minaj can talk about this. Nicki Minaj, that make videos shaking her behind and exposing her cleavage. Nicki Minaj had time away from rapping about her ops to talking about what is happening to Christians in Nigeria. Nicki Minaj had that time. And yet you have Christians in Nigeria that, why are we sending 8 billion to them? Of course, I agree with his points. Don't get me wrong. I agree with his point about why are we sending 8 billion to Nigeria. I agree with that. But I'm just like, is that all you are going to say? You get where I'm coming from? Like, is that all you are going to point out? Is that all there is to what is happening? All you care about is, look at the money we are sending them. Is that all that there is? And the answer is yes. That's all he sees. You know. Don't be that kind of Christian. Okay? Don't be that kind of Christian. At the end of the day, when you stand before your maker, God will not ask you how did you work to ensure that the Republicans never lost an election? How well did you ensure that, you know, the right people stay in power? How well did you work to ensure, you know, all these things that you think are important? You know, none of that will really matter when you stand before God. Did you feed the poor? Did you help the needy? Did you speak out for the oppressed? Did you, you know, stuff like that is what will be asked. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't do any of that, but I just find it's just somehow, you know. But I will not dwell too much on Matt Walsh. He's a great guy. This is not to, you know, I have other issues against him. This is the list of them. So, there is that. And we have Edie with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Edie. I really appreciate it. You guys are really, you know, going over and beyond. I am blown away. I am seriously blown away. Thank you all so much. So much. Tomorrow I will be on Anta's channel. We'll be having a conversation on Anta's channel. We're talking about the persecution of Christians in Nigeria. And I'll be on his channel by 8 p.m. GMT. GMT plus 1 or GMT. I don't know. By 8 p.m. I'll be on his channel. And we'll have a very great conversation. It will be very productive. And I hope you guys will, you know, join me there if you have the chance. I will not be doing a live stream tomorrow. I don't think I will. I'll be doing one on Thursday, though. So there is that. And we'll see how we go from here. Thank you, everyone. To end this, I want to end this by saying that God loves you and he cares for you. Yes, I know we talk about politics a lot on this show, but I always end it by reminding us of what really matters. At the end of the day, all our political conversations, none of that matters. What matters is where you are, where your standing is with God. Okay? That is what matters at the end of the day. Where you stand with Jesus Christ. The world is passing away. One thing that every of this news should remind you of is that the world and everything in it is passing away. When you look at what is happening and you feel God needs to judge the world, yes, the judgment of God is coming. And nobody will escape it. Okay? No one will stand on the day of judgment. No one. No one. The only thing that will help any person is if they've escaped that judgment. And the only way to escape it is in Christ Jesus. Coming to him. That is the only way. Because there is none righteous. No, not one. All of us have all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. But in Christ Jesus, we have hope. We have salvation. We are saved from the judgment that is to come. Because a day is coming, trust me. A day is coming where God will judge the living and the dead. That day is coming. And the only people who escape God's judgment are those who are found in Christ Jesus. Those are the only people that will escape that judgment. And this is your, you know, I know you listen to me. Thank you for giving me your time. Thank you for always supporting, smashing that like button and everything, sending me money, putting your money where my mouth is. I owe it to you to tell you this truth, that on the last day, God will judge the living and the dead. On the last day, there will be eternal judgment. On the last day, there will be eternal judgment. And there is a way to escape that, because nobody will stand. The Jajawis will not stand. The RSF will not stand. Neither will you. Imagine spending your eternity next to Omar al-Bashir. You know. So, to escape that judgment, you know, come to Christ. He will deliver you, save you from your sin, restore your relationship with your Creator when it is still day. And to do that is through Jesus Christ. And when you come to him, he will give you a new life. He will give you true freedom. He will give you true liberty. He will give your life a meaning. He will restore your soul. He will be your shepherd and you will be his sheep. You will be his flock. And he takes care of his own. And you will not be put to shame on, in this life and in the life to come. Trust me, real shame will not come on you. Okay? So that is my invitation to you as we close. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. And until we meet again, peace and God bless you.
Putting the West African nation back on a U.S. watch list. So what does that mean? Jillian Turner has the details. Hi, Jillian.
Hi, Bill and Dana. So the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is now going to reverse a Biden-era policy. He is going to put the country of Nigeria back on America's country of particular concern list. He is doing this citing the religious prosecution and persecution of Christians in Nigeria, as well as the wholesale slaughter of Christians based on their faith. Now, take a look at this. It follows President Trump's warning that he is going to send the military's guns ablazing, that's a quote, if Islamic terrorists keep killing Christians. He also is vowing to cut off U.S. aid.
What you have is a terrorist organization, particularly in the north in Nigeria, Boko Haram, that is literally burning churches, massacring people, torturing people, running them out of their homes to the tunes of tens, if not hundreds of thousands.
Asked aboard Air Force One whether he plans to put American boots on the ground in the country, the president did not say no. Listen.
Could be. I mean, a lot of things I envisage, a lot of things. They're killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad. I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Nigeria's regional neighbors also facing similar terror threats. The U.S. Embassy in Niger right now has tightened their security after a missionary was kidnapped. The State Department has also slapped level 4 travel warnings on both Niger and Mali, Nigeria's neighbors, ordering Americans to stay away. Policymakers and survivors of the Christian prosecution say the Trump administration is making the right move here.